All right, let's go, GT.
We're going on Facebook. We're going. I don't know, Tim. I don't know if you caught the ACMs last night, but our boy Luke Combs, album of the year.
Did he clean it up?
Yeah, I didn't watch. I actually didn't watch. Last night I got a new show going called Away on Netflix. I don't know if you've watched that one yet, but I missed the ACMs last night, but I did see this morning that Luke Combs did win album of the year.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, hey, this is SWH podcast number 23. We're live here, Glass Half Full Productions. Tim McManus here with Greg Thompson, Long Island, New York, on a beautiful Thursday. What's today? September 17th, I believe, right?
Today is the 17th, yeah.
17th already, in the beautiful US of A. What's going on, buddy?
Nothing much, man. Like I told you before, just getting ready for that baby to come. Just doing some
Ready to pop, huh?
Yeah, we got tomorrow will be 5 weeks left. Just trying to get some little things done before that comes. So looking forward to it.
Well, as a father of three, I'll let you know that, trust me, the headaches haven't even started yet. So all the craziness you're feeling right now and stuff, it only gets worse. So enjoy this peacefulness right now while you can with you and your girl home, because in a few weeks your whole world's going to change for the better, but it will get a lot crazier.
I see it firsthand every day, right? So
yeah,
it's going to be a crazy ride, I'm sure, but looking forward to it.
Yeah, no, for sure.
What's going on over there?
Nah, nothing much. Kids are at school, and actually my wife Kim's doing she's a teacher, as you know, so 2 days she's got to do it from home, so she's teaching from home upstairs on her stream or whatever they're doing. So 2020 schooling right now going on. We got kids home certain days and they're in school other days, all this craziness, and so sick of it all, and looking forward to better times ahead here. It's getting old for me, all this mask shit and virus stuff and the politics and all this stuff on social media every minute. I'm just over it all. Can't wait for we move on here.
Yeah, no, I hear you there. I was talking to our old pal Mitch Stewart out in Michigan, and Mitch got a job teaching this year, and congrats to him. But he's working from home as well. I don't think he's going in any days. I think everything's remote for him. So so he's home, working online. So Amy, she's working every day at school. Monday through Friday, she has kids. And then, she has a couple kids that are doing online stuff. And, there's just not a lot of hours in a day. And she's supposed to teach kids remotely as well. So it's crazy what she has to do.
And Mitch is one of those guys. He's probably wearing the mask home alone in his house teaching, if I know Mitch. So shout out to Mitch Stewart out in Michigan.
Got all his cats jumping on him.
Oh yeah. So let's dive right into it here. We got a lot to talk about today. We got some divisions from State Wars to wrap up. We'll talk a little bit about our Not So Winter Wars tournament we just finished last weekend. That was great. Talk a little about that, and before we get started here, let's talk a little bit about a couple of things I was thinking of this morning, thinking about today's podcast. Just pet peeves, like just some things that just irk you right now, Greg. Get on your nerves, whether it's in the world right now or at the tournament. We just around people a lot over the weekend, and one of the things that it's become like a trend now during this pandemic that really, I don't know why, it makes my blood boil every time I hear it. I'm just so over the be well or stay healthy line every time I see somebody. And I get why they're saying it, like they're trying to be nice, but it just bothers me. It's like cheerio, like one of those kind of be well, stay healthy, just say goodbye, say later, bro. Like I don't need the be well, I don't know why. I don't know how you feel about it, but it just bothers me.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's funny. I caught myself in a couple of emails to people, stay safe, be well. And I'm thinking to myself, oh man, that's kind of weird to say. No, I totally get it, but people are obviously just trying to be genuine and nice. I wouldn't look anything, past that. No, I get what you're saying. It's a little annoying after a while.
Like, wear your seatbelt, stay safe. Like,
Yeah.
my friend Randy used to always make the same joke whenever you leave his house. He'd say, drive fast, take chances. Like, that was always like his joke line when you used to leave. So I always think of that. But
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know why I don't know. It just annoys me, I guess. Maybe because I'm just over this whole pandemic. So it just really, it gets on my nerves. The other thing that really annoys me, and I guess it's always been this way, but even worse lately, is, I try not to go on Facebook. It's funny, we're on Facebook right now, but I try not to go online as much as I used to, just because I get tired of people, I guess. Everyone's an expert, everyone was already a Monday morning quarterback, after a football game or a hockey game. Everyone always says, oh, the coach shouldn't have started that goalie, or why did they make that play? Why didn't they kick the field goal? Everyone's an expert. And then now on top of it, everyone is, a doctor or a political major, everyone knows everything. And we used to always use a line back in the day, the keyboard killer. And I find that more now. I see people that if you see them in person, they can't even put two sentences together, but they sound like a scholar when they're on Facebook with their writing. So it's just amazing to me. Just so over it. Like, no one cares. No one cares what you think. Even no one cares that, your first day of school, 25 pictures of your kid, and your kid lost a tooth, and you're gonna be a father soon. I mean, once in a while I'll post a picture, but oh my God.
People live
If
their
you're
whole
posting
life.
55 pictures a day of your kids and every second what they're doing and what you're doing, you need, I'm sorry, but you need a life. You need to go out, volunteer at a soup kitchen or something. Like, this time, if you have that much time on your hand to do things for people, really make a difference, get off the Facebook, guys. Like, it's old, and I just can't take it.
Tim, I mean, every hour I see people updating their status or whatever, and I'm like, Jesus, like, I really don't need to know what you're eating for lunch. And
You checked in at Chipotle at noon. Like,
midday
really?
snack, unless it's you're at some gourmet restaurant maybe, and you see, I can maybe get that, but oh my Lord, every hour it's like keeping you up to date on everything, and it's just getting a little out of hand.
And then the pressure becomes, as you've seen, like, my wife once in a while will make a comment to me like, oh, I didn't get a birthday shout out on Instagram or something. And I'm like, what? I said happy birthday to you when I saw you in the morning, didn't I? I got to go on Facebook now or Instagram. Like, you're not even on Facebook, and I'm sure you see you're more of that younger generation where the younger girls now or guys, they want like constant postings. And if you don't say something, like you're not a good boyfriend or husband or wife or daughter or whatever. Like, come on. Like, I said it to you in person. I don't need to go on and say it as well on Instagram or social media. And I hate that my kids are going to be going through this because I can't take it.
Yeah, you're right. It's funny, I'll see people, right on, their loved ones' walls, like their spouse, and aren't you right next to them in the other room?
Yeah.
Like, I don't understand why you have to do that.
Yeah. I'm waiting on Facebook. Hey, pass the salt, please. It's like, really, you live with these people. You have to post just so everyone else can see it, is what it comes down. They want everyone to say, hey, Greg Thompson, he's such a great son. He posted this big thing for his mom's birthday. Even while you told your mom on the phone, or you went to her house and hugged her, like, or kissed her, like, it's I don't know. But yeah, that's my rant. Let's talk about a rant. Let's talk about a pet peeve from the hockey tournaments, Greg. So at the tournament, I know there's a couple that really irk you. We talk about this all the time. So share with the world a couple of the Greg Thompson pet peeves at a hockey tournament.
Yeah, I don't know if it's just because I'm getting older now and I just have less, tolerance. But first off, I hate the numbers 69, 0, 00, and 99. Those are mine. 00 and 0 aren't even numbers, so I don't know why people use those numbers. Obviously 69, I'm not going to get into that one, but a youth player should not be wearing 69. I'm sorry. If you're a parent and you allow your kid to wear 69, yeah, I don't know what goes through your head, but 99, obviously, for certain reasons with Wayne Gretzky. I personally don't think that number should be used. I don't know how you feel about that one, Tim. But 99 should not be used as well.
Remember our buddy RM used to use 99. We used to pick on him,
Yeah.
A grown man wearing 99,
Yeah.
I can see like a little kid not knowing any better, but
yeah, of course.
Even the NHL, you can't use 99, so you definitely shouldn't be allowed to wear it at State Wars.
No.
I agree with you about the numbers.
It is funny though when like teams have an extra set of jerseys and it's like 99 and they have to give it to someone and they have to wear it and that they feel all embarrassed and stuff like that. That's pretty funny sometimes, but yeah, the 000, I've never gotten that. And of course, obviously the 69, I don't know where that came from. I don't see.
I remember being at a tryout one time. I won't mention where or when it was. And I'm sitting, after, for those who don't know, after tryouts, the parent will come up with their child, they pay, we go over their uniform and what numbers they want and make sure there's no conflicts. I remember once or twice sitting there and a parent would come up. It could be a mom or a dad with like a little daughter who's like 12. And I'd be like, oh, what number would she like? Oh, she'll take 69. And I'd be like, what? Like,
yeah.
So there's some people out there, bro. It's weird,
boggles my mind sometimes, but maybe
14 really should be retired, Greg. Should we retire 14 at State Wars maybe in honor of Pete Messina? I mean Greg Thompson,
Stanza,
It's a compliment made when they pick 14. They're thinking of you,
Yeah, right. I have a couple other little ones as well. Like I can't stand for some reason when I hear kids talking, who are you versing today? I just don't think it sounds right. Who are you playing? Who are you playing against today? Or versing, I've never gotten that one as well. It just sounds
right about that.
Like, oh, I think we're versing this team today. It just doesn't sound.
One with me, and it happened this weekend. My daughter was in a soccer tournament, and I text my wife and I just say, how are they doing? And she writes back, I said, what's the score? And she says 0-1. And I know what she means by that because she wants to say that they have 0 as 1. Yeah. But I've never heard anyone in my life ever do that before. Like it's always 1-0, they're losing, but she does that all the time. And I don't know why, it just drives me nuts.
Yeah, that's a good one too. Yeah. And then we always have this debate, especially with our State Wars employees, when we're up in the office, whatever, like a late night, we always get into this argument. And especially, it's usually towards Mitch Stewart because he goes to Michigan State or he went to Michigan State. And all his posts are like, oh, we have to play Alabama or we have to play that. You're not on the team.
And Mitch, what are you, the fullback? Like,
a running back on Michigan State, well, people, especially our Islander friends, saying, oh,
we look so good.
We look good tonight. We are playing in game 6, tomorrow. Right. You're not on the Islanders, bud. I'm sorry.
Right.
But I know, our friends, like Joe Cook, and we've had these conversations before. And, Joe went to Miami, Ohio, and he's like, listen, I have love and passion for the teams there in my school. So I am part of the school. I spent money there. I, live there, and that's my team, you could say that with season ticket holders, I guess, too, for professional teams, teams, if you're, I guess people feel like they are part of the team if they're really, spending all that money or, going to school there. I mean, I get it, but it just at the same time, it just doesn't make sense.
That's bullshit. You're either on the team or you're not. Someone doesn't say, because they come to State Wars we had a good year this year. Like, who? State Wars, no, you're not, you don't work for us, like you're not on the team,
Yeah.
And it's not we, and the last one we'll mention here before we get into real talk about State Wars and Winter Wars is stats, I guess the kids we could somewhat deal with because we understand that you're dealing with kids, but when we got men's leagues guys, we got guys in the senior A division and they're in 23rd place out of 24 teams coming up because we missed an assist on a goal. Like, geez, man, like,
hair out.
Yeah. And I made the same joke for 15 years straight. I've never once had a person come up in the office and correct a stat that they got by accident. It's always been one they're missing, There's never been hey, they gave me 3 assists this game. I only had 2. I don't know where the third one came from, but it always works the other way around. So, guys, no one cares about your stats. It's great. You can tell your girlfriend or your boyfriend you scored 15 goals last game. No one cares. And let's move on. It's about the team. It's teams first. individual stats second. I doubt Wayne Gretzky went up to the referee after every goal and made sure someone got the assist or whatnot. It is what it is. You get some you shouldn't, and they miss some you should get. It works out in the end.
Yep. And it's funny because I do, when teams don't hand their rosters in time or their jerseys switch like halfway through the tournament, I'll get an email from a parent. Oh, little Johnny had 3 goals. It's not saying the goalie scored a couple goals.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? Honestly, it's probably because your coach messed up the jerseys.
Yeah, the roster.
Obviously we make mistakes, of course, and I make plenty of them, as we know. But a lot of the times it is on the coach too. And they switch jerseys last second, or jerseys bigger than they thought, or whatever, and it kind of screws up the stats. So it gets annoying.
In the NHL has instant replay, and they go back and review every goal, and you heard correction. So it's just, we try to be better than everybody else, but it's still amateur at the end of the day. And people just, again, I've had parents tell me their kids had 3 assists in a game and they won the game 2-0. So you can't make the stuff up. So and Chris Bittner just said, you missed 3 of my assists. So
Sorry, Bit,
if that was true. You did move the puck to me this weekend, Bit, so I'll give you that. So you are a passing machine. Part of that is laziness, but part of that is because you're a good man. So maybe we missed a couple.
Vinny Comito said 10 from 99, Jimmy Vavona.
I think Vavona used to say 99 from 99 on a goal.
Yeah, I was just gonna say but that's
I was never one of those guys worried about points. So it's just, again, it's just funny. Just good banter to bust balls on guys. And we won't name a couple. We have our favorites. There are a couple guys we know every tournament are going to come up and ask about stats. So it's always fun.
Without a doubt, Tim.
All right, so let's move into the summer. So we're finishing up here. We have a few divisions to finish up from our rewind of State Wars, which was in beautiful Fort Wayne, Indiana this summer. And the 2004 division was the last one I think we left off on, Greg. Is that correct?
Yep.
All right, so 2004's was a 7-team division. And this was a division we got a little unique with. So because we had an odd number of teams, so after everyone played 4 games and they split, we took the top 3 teams and put them in a AAA bracket alone. And then we had the bottom 4 teams went to AA. And so what was unique about it was when you only have 3 teams, there's really no semifinals because one team's going right to the final. And I thought that'd be kind of crappy for that one team to have to go right to the championship and not to get to play another game. So what we did was we did this a few years ago also, which is pretty cool. And I know the kids loved it. They got extra games out of it. We did a mini round robin amongst those 3 teams. So they all played each other again, and maybe for the first time. But they all played 2 games against one another. And then based on that, the top 2 teams played again in a championship based on how the standings worked for those 3 games against each other. So, after the round robin, Farm Tough and St. Louis Blast both were 4-0. They were pretty much the leaders there. Then the Michigan Tropics were third at 2-1-1, who they were kind of that mystery team. They looked really good at times, like, wow, this team can win it. And then they go and be like, but they finished in third. And then we had the Border Cats were 2-2, Team Pennsylvania 1-2, and then the Team Tour West Coast Warriors from Colorado and Connex NorCal, which surprisingly, because they're a good group, both went 0-4. Just talking about the strength of the division.
Yeah.
So that was the breakdown, and that Farm Tough, Blast, and Tropics, Greg, went to that AAA playoff first.
Yeah. So in that AAA final, Farm Tough took on the Tropics in that championship game, and Farm Tough ended up winning in overtime. So that was a pretty good game, back and forth action. Pretty sure you were there for that one.
Yep.
While Dennis was announcing, our new MC, Dennis Shelsick.
Oh yeah.
But it looked like a phenomenal game.
Yeah, and Farm Tough, that's back-to-back years they've won 04. And that's a team that, I think about that 04 Wisconsin team.
Mm-hmm.
I'd have to really go back and look at what year they started playing at State Wars. I would imagine it's been probably 8 years they've been playing the division or so.
Mm-hmm.
And they struggled at the beginning, and you just saw that team get better and better. And they had a couple years where they would lose to California, or they would lose to Missouri, or a couple of the teams that were a little bit better, and then they just kept getting better. And they added some ice kids that they were able to get to play some roller finally. That Peter Dale, the coach's son Tyler, who's a very strong 04, attracted some other players to come and play on that team, and they got a really good group, and they've been the most dominant team the last couple of years. You look at Tyler Dale, and then you got that Josh Little kid's really good, and Gatewood, and some of these kids. They're strong players, and I see some future Palma Pro players on that team.
Yeah. I mean, I could see some of these kids playing next year in the Pro Division.
Yeah.
Like you mentioned earlier in a previous podcast, it'd be kind of cool to see like a young stars team, playing the division, and I could see some of these kids playing on that team.
Yeah, if I coached that team this year, I would look at some of those kids as kids I'd want on that team.
Yeah,
for sure.
That'd
In the round robin, Tyler Dale, as he's done many times, led the tournament in scoring, high scorer, 9 goals, 8 assists. So his game has come around too as well. Years ago, I would have called him more of a scorer, not more of a passer. And now his game has come full circle, and he does it all. And, you see that 9 goals, 8 assists, 17 points in 4 games to lead the tournament scoring. And his partner, Josh Little, was second with 12 points. So pretty strong group they got right there. Peter Dale's done a nice job with that team.
Yeah, they got a good group there. Josh Little ended up scoring the winner and got MVP of the championship game. So
good job. Not so little in the big game there for Josh.
Yeah.
And then in the double A, so we had the Border Cats, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Warriors, Colorado, and Connex NorCal go there. Let's look at the championship. I think Team Pennsylvania,
Team PA,
they went on there, right?
Yep, they went on and they beat the Border Cats in the finals.
Yeah, so that was another great game.
Yeah, it was. And Isaiah Porter, he got MVP of that. He's becoming a really good player as well, Tim. Watching him over at Winter Wars over the weekend and the last couple of years at State Wars, he's really stepped up his game. And we know his father Dave. He's all into it. He loves the sport, and they're playing as much as possible. Isaiah, earlier in the tournament, he went down with a bad foot or ankle injury, maybe a knee. I can't recall. And I didn't see the kid, I didn't think he was going to play again, for State Wars. And he ended up suiting back up, and I felt he looked fine out there to me. He was basically out in a stretcher.
Yeah, I remember you grabbed me. I wasn't there that morning, and you said, "Oh, Isaiah Porter got really hurt." I was like, "Oh, damn," because you know how much his dad Dave puts into it. Just like Peter, like he's a coach of the team. He usually coached a couple teams, and he's so into it.
Yeah.
And like you said, Isaiah has been one of those kids where a few years ago, didn't even know who he was. I think of Porter. I think of Rowan Porter. It's the only Porter I knew. And all of a sudden, this kid comes out of nowhere, playing a ton of hockey. And he's arguably one of the best players in the 04 birth year right now, coming from Pennsylvania. That team's getting better as well.
Yeah, exactly. And, the Border Cats had a good tournament, as always. They didn't have their typical players, their normal players, but Lucas Deeb did end up going and playing at the event. He was a last-minute add-on for the Border Cats. And, he's still phenomenal as always. He could still play. And, Tilney's group that had a good tournament, man. They really played well.
Yeah, that Michigan team was always good in 04. As these kids get older with ice, some of them, it's funny, get some of these kids that the reason they're so good at ice because all the role they played as well. And that's why it's always ironic when some of them stop playing roller for a little bit as they get bigger at ice. That's always the old joke.
Mm-hmm.
But, there's some great players out there. And next summer, when we're in St. Louis, that 04 Missouri team, then they suddenly get even stronger because you get more and more of their ice, future NHLers that are home, and now they'll play. They don't want to travel, but they're home. So that team gets better as well. So the 04 birth year will be exciting next year. And, there's only a couple more years left for that division, which is scary to think about before they move on to the adults. So then we had a separate 04 single A division. It was a small division, 4 teams. But it's always great to be able to have a separate one where teams are playing against their own level instead of getting, beat up on some of the stronger teams, which is no fun for anyone.
Yeah.
In a normal year, our A divisions are much bigger especially when we have all the international teams playing, which we didn't have this year, and hope to have them back in 21.
Yeah.
But we had the Team Illinois Express, the Alkali Rebel New York team, Chaos from Missouri and the Assault from New Jersey. No one went undefeated in that division. Express and New York both went 2-1 to go into the playoffs there. And what'd you think in the playoffs in that one?
Yeah, Team Illinois, man, they got better and better as the tournament went on. I felt like they had a lot of ice hockey players that really weren't adjusted yet to roller hockey, and they, they were so skillful. They had a lot of skill. Their skating was a little scrappy, but yeah, Ryan Johnson buried a nice little game winner in overtime. He's been playing State Wars for a long time. And it's pretty cool to see him, get better and better as the years go on. So I know he's a very good ice hockey player as well. Yeah, they're getting better and better, those Illinois kids.
Yeah, and I want to mention quick because I feel bad. You and I are both non-goalies, so we forget about the goalies. But in that 04 AAA AA division, Cam Reagan, the Farm Tough Wisconsin goalie, he led the way with a .774 save percentage. So it always helps when you got a pretty stud goalie in there, and as well as you're scoring a lot of goals. It's definitely a formula for success. But then in the single A division here, we had a three-way tie in points. James Hedquist and Peter Abassis from New York, both very strong players with 7 points. And then Joey Mayone from Illinois had 7 points as well. So a lot of good scoring there from some players in those divisions. And then goaltending wise, we had a real close one with Chaos and Illinois, I think by 0.04% difference. And Andrew Henson of Missouri from Chaos had a .780 to lead the pack with save percentage there, Greg.
Yeah, he played great. I watched him over the course of State Wars, and he really stood on his head. The team wasn't the strongest. They were a solid team, but he really stood on his head and led the way for Chaos.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now let's move on to the 2003 triple double. So it was an 8-team division. So Connex Raleigh Speed and Detroit Arsenal both went 3-0. The only undefeated teams there. And then you had Team Pennsylvania 2-1, NorCal, Connex 1-1-1, Farm Tough 1-1-1, the Assault 1-2, the Warriors 0-3, and Alkali Grease is 0-3. And it's funny because you look at Farm Tough, I think it was the same exact team they had in both divisions. Yeah. So they clean up in 04. You only go up one berth year, and unfortunately, they qualified for the double A, which I think they wound up winning. But it's just amazing how that one berth year, Greg, can make such a difference.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, as you get older, the kids get better and better. But what's more impressive is a lot of their players also played 02, where they won 02. Mm-hmm. So
that's
yeah. So I mean, you could look at it like that, but the 03 division was really, really stacked this year. Good division. Obviously, the Arsenal team, I felt like they were head and shoulders better than the other teams, just because I thought they brought a complete game. They brought the physicality, and they had great goaltending and they had timely goals. I just thought they were deeper than all the teams.
Yeah, you kind of knew early on that it was going to come down to North Carolina and Michigan. And we watched that game, and I was a little annoyed watching that game, being totally honest. I know the Raleigh Speed kids for a long time. Good kids. They work hard, very skilled. We know their head coach, Bob Robinson, real well. Just good kids. And you could just tell in that game, the Detroit kids, there are a few kids on that team that are just a little bit much for me. I'd have a hard time coaching with the antics a little bit. And you could tell they just intimidated the Raleigh Speed kids a little bit out there watching it. And, the refs let them play at that age a little bit. And I felt bad for the Speed a little bit because, they definitely were intimidated and it affected their game. And to credit to Michigan that they allowed, that North Carolina let them get in their heads that way and they intimidated them, which is part of sports, right? You intimidate your opponent, you have to step up on them. But the Michigan kids, there were a couple kids on that team with the celebrations and even how they act afterwards with the medals and whatnot. And I don't know that, and we're good friends with Tom Simo, the head coach, who helped us cut the floor at the arena, who's a buddy of ours. And even he was just shaking his head, apologizing a little bit for a couple of the guys. So, little frustrating with that. And hopefully those kids grow up a little bit with, because, you know, some of them have some pretty promising ice hockey careers in the future, which I think will be affected if they act like that. But overall, very skilled team. Good win for them. Good job by Speed to get there. And, you know, like you said, they were the leaders of the pack for sure. High scorers in that division. I know we had Tyler Dale again, 11 points in 3 games for that. And then Luke DePasquale from Raleigh and Daniel Kraus both were second and third in scoring from that team. Just showed you. And it just shows you about Michigan. You know, they were the best team, didn't have a high score. It just shows how well-rounded that team is. You know, Hunter and Ohannes, a couple of these kids on that team are just good players. And, you know, everyone chipped in. And then on the goalie front, you had, you know, Nick Simo, who's just a phenomenal goalie. You know, again, a little bit of a swag with him too, but, you know, doing push-ups in between some stuff, which again, I, as a coach, I'd be going crazy about, but I know, I know Nick is a good kid, but just gets a little wild with his buddies, but he, phenomenal goalie, 0.892% save percentage for that one.
Yeah. You know, we always say it's always like the worst birth years, worst age groups to wrap. And, you know, it's just, you know, the kids are becoming, you know, I don't want to say wise guys, but, you know, they try to play with a little bit of like an edge and cockiness to them, which, you know, I personally don't like. You know, if there was, you know, if God forbid there was some scouts in the stands and they saw that, they probably wouldn't have liked it. So, you know, you never know who's going to be in a building. You know, we have guys who, you know, coach USHL or you know, scout or whoever, you know, through over the years been in the building. And if they would have seen that, man, you know, I don't think they would have liked it too much. So just never know where you're going to be or who you're going to see. So you always have to, you know, act like professionals. And it's something I think some of these kids have to learn. So,
yeah, I mean, I'll speak just from being, you know, the head coach of Team USA on the inline side, you know, and, you know, you're my assistant coach, you know, we know from that. Granted, you know, we're dealing with men now, but part of the process when we're talking about players of considering who we want to invite to play is personality and, you know, other stuff, you know. And then if you think about the junior USA team, like our buddy Jim Tamburino coaches and Steve Bonnie, not Steve Bonnie, what's his, California. How do you say his name? That coaches with Jim, the USA, the junior team.
Howdy, Bodie.
Sorry, I said Bonnie. Bodie. You know, now their age is more that age now. So they come to us a lot and ask us about players saying, hey, because they can't have a camp. So they're just going by word of mouth and they hear about players. They're going to State Wars, looking at stats. They're going, hey, how's this kid? And, you know, if kids have certain little attitudes or issues or parents that are crazy and all these things become factors in sports, it all has to do with stuff because there's so many good players. And then you start chipping away at, all right, this kid is this or this parent is that. Let's get rid of him. Let's go and we move along, you know. And, you know, we deal with that with our men's team. Luckily, there's really not too many issues personality wise on the men's side. But, you know, there are a couple out there that have come across our desk and we say, he's not going to fit in with the guys, you know. And it's unfortunate. But when you're at a tournament, how everyone gets along in a short period of time is so important to how it works. And that's the same no matter what sport, what level, it becomes a factor. So just, you know, just something to think about for those young guys out there that want to impress coaches at the next level. How you handle yourself on and off the rink become a factor.
Yep, 100%. You know, if I had a player who was just as good and the parents were, you know, maybe a little lesser in talent, but the parents are great, you know, I'm going with that player all day long.
100%.
I'm not dealing with the headaches and stress over a kid who's a wise guy and acts a certain way. So
now, Farm Tough in the AA, Greg, I mentioned it earlier, you know, they won, like you said, 02 and 04. We'll get to 02 in a second. But that was one of those things where you hate when you see they drop to the lower because they were just better than everyone in the lower. And they wound up beating Colorado 7-1 in the final.
Yeah.
So that's one of the ones where you wish you could just say, you know what, Farm Tough, you're going to the AAA. I don't care where you finish, you know, and move things around, which unfortunately isn't in the cards for us to do. But, you know, they went and beat up everyone in that one where I would have loved to have seen other teams in that AA fight it out because they were just they were more of a AAA group there, and it's just unfortunate part of how it worked out with the standings. Because I think, looking at it here, Farm Tough, they tied Connex 3-3, and then they lost Detroit 5-3, so it put them behind the 8 ball there, and they dropped down. But they only beat Colorado 6-3 in the round robin, and they wound up blowing them out in the final. But a good job by the West Coast Warriors overall to get to that point. And then we had our single AO3 division, which was a 5-team division. The PTC Chiefs, Peachtree City Chiefs, Georgia. Jeff Sousa, a great guy, good buddy of ours from Georgia. That group, Greg, they went 4-0, undefeated in the round robin. They're plus 18 differential. Detroit Junior Dragons, Michigan, 3-1. Knuckleheads from Tennessee went 1-2-1. The Dogs from Pennsylvania went 1-3, and the Texas Tornadoes went 0-3-1. So pretty good division overall there, with no one even losing every game. But that Chiefs team was a little step above everyone in the round robin.
Yeah, very competitive division for sure. The PTC team, they played up in 2002A as well, and they had a good run in the playoffs. They played well against Detroit Junior Dragons. I do also want to mention, our first round robin game between Texas and the Dogs. We did have a moment of silence for our dear friend Parker Marsh from Texas, a young State Wars player who did lose his life a couple weeks prior to the event, and we did have a moment of silence there for him. So that was pretty sad for me personally, because I've known the Marsh family for quite some time, and I'm just trying to orchestrate the whole moment of silence and stuff. I really got choked up during it. It was really tough, and I felt like everyone was ready for that game. The players who were playing in it, and Texas, they're pretty grateful that we did that as well. So yeah, that was a tough pill to swallow for me personally.
Shout out to Sebastian Hale from that team to reach out to us to do that for the Marsh family, who used to own. People don't know, they used to own the rink out there where we have our tryouts at. Lone Star Rink, and then they wound up selling the rink, but they're still involved. And Jill Marsh was very helpful with us with Texas teams and whatnot. And her son Parker, who Greg had mentioned, in a home accident, lost his life last year. He was he, a 2007, Greg? Is that what he is? Yeah, so young kid, 13 years old, lost his life. But Sebastian Hale, whose mom Misty is our team manager, his dad was a coach. Sebastian, great player from Texas, reached out to us and asked us to do that moment of silence for that game, which of course we obliged. And I was a little embarrassed we didn't think of that ourselves to do that for them. But Sebastian, thank you for reaching out to us. And like you said, Greg, that was a real emotional moment at the rink for, I think, everybody involved. And it was tough. But in that division, what's funny is when I look at it, you look at 4-0 and you look at a plus 18, you go, wow, should we put that Chiefs team in the higher division? And the hard part with this setup this year is without tryouts, we don't know any of the teams, and we're just going by what coaches register. And we look at names and we know our kids for the most part, but you're relying on the coaches. And some of the coaches like Jeff, he was kind of like, I don't really know where they belong. But then, I look at the scores here of that division, and, they won their first game 6-4 over the Dragons. Then they won their second game 5-3 over the Knuckleheads. Then they won the semifinal 2-1 over the Dogs from PA. So 3 of the teams they had 1 to 2 goal games against in that division. So even though they won the final 6-0, it makes me feel good about that's where they belong in that division, because who knows what happened against, Connex or Arsenal, one of these other top teams. So unfortunately, there's always just somebody that's better than the others in the division, and they were the top dogs in that division.
They were, yeah. And Lane Anderson had himself a tournament. He was the Warrior high scorer. He got MVP. He was the Alkali top sniper. He won the accuracy shooting competition. So he had himself a tournament, and I know he won the 2002A high score as well. And their goaltender Connor Lackley also won top goalie, and he won the skills competition as well. So PTC took home some awards, and fastest skater was Jack Kramer from the Dragons. So
I want to mention, Lyndon Palmer of Knuckleheads, Tennessee, had 13 points, 10 goals scored in the round robin, and Jack Kramer, you just mentioned, from the Dragons, had 12 points. So some pretty top players in that single A division as well.
Yeah, no, 100%. It was a good division. all around. It was really good.
100% good division. So let's move on here, Greg, to the 2002 division, triple double. This was the last year for the O2s, 11-team division. Normally it's a big deal that last year. This year without our award ceremonies and whatnot, unfortunately it was a little different than normal, but still an 11-team triple double A division. I'm not going to go through every name of every team in this division, but the St. Louis Blast, Missouri, and Farm Tough both went 3-0-1 there. And I know you had mentioned earlier that, Farm Tough surprised a lot of people, I think, in that 0-2 division. I had a couple teams ranked ahead of them. But they came out, they played well, and then in the playoffs, they knocked off a strong Tor Lizard Kings team, led by Miles Harrington, who's a very strong player out of Georgia who plays in the pro division, 4-1. And then in the championship, they beat a pretty good Assault New Jersey team who I think surprised some people getting there as well to the finals, but they defeated them 5-1. That St. Louis Blast team was the one I would have picked to have gone the whole way. And they wound up losing to the Assault 5-1 in the playoffs, which I think shocked them. And, you never know in single elimination hockey. That's the one thing, Greg, we always talk about. What makes State Wars and an inline hockey tournament so special is single elimination. You watch the Stanley Cup playoffs, it's best of 7. And best of 7, 9 times out of 10, the best team is going to win, if not 99 out of 100 times. They're going to win the series.
Yeah.
But in single elimination, I don't care if it's Palma Pro or the O2 division or the 6 and under. One game, anybody could beat anybody, and you could be out no matter how good you're playing.
Yeah, I mean that's why we play the game, right? We knew who'd be taking home the cups every State Wars. We just mail it to them.
Correct.
That's why we play the game. That semifinal between the Assault and St. Louis Blast got a little fiery. I was watching that one, and it's funny at that age. I don't want to say hatred, but the dislike for one another, on the rink, was pretty crazy in that game. It was pretty fiery, and both teams were really going at it. So it's cool to see the intensity level. But I just hate when it moves on to the stands, like the crowds. And unfortunately, that's what we kind of ran into. There was some stuff going on off the rink between these teams. And I think we did a pretty good job at nipping it in the butt. It's cool to see some rivalries in the sport and whatnot. But when it gets out of hand and, into the crowds and stands and stuff like that, that's when it gets out of hand. And we don't need that, So, but yeah, no, the Assault played well. They had a great tournament. They played also in that semifinal game against the Blast. I know the Blast went up early, and then Aiden Ringer and Toyasi and Koski, they kind of went off and played well. Little Anthony Otto always plays great. He had a great tournament as well. Just adds that little grit, to a team. And they had a good mix. They had a good mix of talent there, and they played well.
Yeah, Miles Harrington, I mentioned him earlier, 15 points, led the division in scoring. Excuse me. And Josh Little, 14 points, and Tyler Dale again, 12 points. Up there as well. Yep. So they did really well with that, with the scoring. Congrats to Miles Harrington, Warrior high scorer. And then in the goaltending side, not a big shocker, but Chase Christopher, who's a perennial goaltending winner, I feel like, in our tournaments, .917 save percentage through the round robin, which is incredible. Yeah. He made 55 saves on 60 shots. Only have 5 goals on 60 shots. It was real impressive. But they met their match with Assault in the that playoff game. But yeah, you're right, Greg. These divisions we talked about when they get to this age group, it's tough, and I get on coaches a lot at this age group as well, as a coach, and even parents too, where, they're the ones that have to lead by example a little bit more, because, the kids get a little bit more disrespectful at this age, and they get to be a little bit wise guys. And, it comes down to the coaches not putting up with it. Unfortunately, hockey's one of those sports where it seems like every time a team wins, they're patting each other on the back and talking about how great they are. But then when they lose, it's the ref's fault, the puck's fault, the rink's fault, it's something, It's never, hey, my fault. I didn't play well, or they beat us. And then it turns into other stuff, especially in the playoffs, where how I am as a coach. I'm the first one to get on our guys about, hey, men take it. Ourselves, we take onus on what we do, whether we win or lose. It's about us. Stop blaming other elements. It's about us winning or losing. And too many guys want to pass the buck and blame other things. And parents are no different in the stands. I want to yell at the refs and stuff like that. But overall, great division, and a lot of teams. And we looked at 11-team division. There's probably 8 teams we felt could have won that division before it started. And that's the kind of division you want. The single AO2 division was a little smaller, 5 teams. PTC Chiefs again there were 3-0-1, Greg.
You want to talk about double A first before we get into the A?
Oh yeah, sure. I'm sorry. Yeah, double A.
Yeah, which is kind of, a couple of teams that went down to double A, could have competed in the triple A final. Our double A final this year was the Skittles and the Blast Orange team. And both teams could have been in that triple A final, honestly. The Skittles ended up winning that one as well. So, I mean, that division.
Nothing, right?
Yep.
And they beat Black Ice 5-2 in the semi, and then they beat St. Louis Blast Orange, their other team, 3-0 in the championship.
Yeah, exactly. So that was another good championship. I think it was scoreless at the end of one, and then Skittles ended up scoring some late ones to go up, and there was a shutout there. So
Zach Nolte, Jeremiah Dolmo, and then Clay Bozanik. So you get a true mixture of California. Those kids would be on different NorCal and SoCal teams, Greg, in a normal year, battling each other. But together, they got some strong players together there, and some players that have played for the USA Junior team and whatnot. I know Clay has. That's a good group there. Yeah,
it's a really good group there, and goaltending was awesome that game. Both goalies played awesome. Ethan Valentine had a shutout that game, and Jonah Watkins, he's the longtime State Wars player. He played awesome as well. So good division, good final there. I think both teams were kind of bummed that they didn't make the AAA. So there wasn't a lot of excitement and energy going to the game, just because I felt like those teams felt like they deserved to be in the AAA playoff. But kind of like a bummer to them, But it was still a good game.
No, I agree. In the single A I mentioned, I started talking about, before Greg corrected me, the PTC Chiefs. That's a tongue twister. Georgia 3-0-1. Then the Inferno from Pennsylvania 2-1-1. East Coast Mustangs, New York 2-2. Tour West Coast Warriors from Colorado 1-1-2, and Team Texas Elite 0-4. So it came down to the Inferno and the Chiefs, Greg, in the final there. And the Inferno had last laugh winning that division. Good championship game, I guess, there with the PTC Chiefs.
Yeah, PTC, those kids play with a lot of heart and energy. They're really intense, those kids. And they actually outshot Inferno that game, 16-12. And, with under 2 minutes left, Nick Wass scored the game winner for Inferno. It's a real good game, back and forth action.
Back and forth, yeah.
Jason Sereno, he's been a great State Wars player over the years. He played well. And, Nick Wass buried a couple, and Inferno took it home. The East Coast Mustangs played Inferno in the semi. I'm sure they see them a lot, out east here. And Inferno ended up winning that game 3-2. And the other semifinal was PTC against the Tour West Coast Warriors, and that was another 3-2 game as well. So, that A division was very competitive, especially the Final Four, and there were some real good games there.
Yeah, Logan Goboleski had 4 points in the championship game, Greg, including 3 apples. So, hats off to him for that. In the single A division overall, I know Chris Tavalis, who's actually an 04, I believe. So he's 2 years younger, from the East Coast Mustangs. Very strong player here. 9 points, and Lane Anderson from Georgia, 9 points as well. And then Joseph Gutierrez from the Warriors had 8 points in third. So pretty impressive stuff there. And then on the goaltending front, Matt Overdorf from Inferno, .915 save percentage, 43 saves on 47 shots. Pretty impressive.
Yeah, he's a good goalie. We watched him the last couple of years. He's very strong in net, and Inferno rely on him a lot. Like I said, they got outshot in the championship game, so he played great. So
yeah, no. Let's take a break here for Greg and bring up some birthday shout outs here. You got some birthdays. I know it was your sister's birthday the other day.
It was my sister.
And I saw just the other day, it was Ted Zelstra, our director from Alberta, who we missed him for sure, and all of Team Alberta this summer at State Wars. I saw it was his birthday. I saw today Tina Zinski, one of the former owners, and I guess now they manage the rink at RMR in Colorado, which was our home for many years for our Winter Wars West tournament. We loved being at RMR, and we still hold tryouts there sometimes. So it was her birthday today. Anthony Pagano, former sniper 88 and Team New York player from back here on Long Island. So it was his birthday today. Chuck Wickner from the New Jersey 45 and over group, who we didn't see this year at Not So Winter Wars, but he's normally a staple at our winter events.
Yeah.
So it was his birthday today. Jared Bowman, former referee of ours, I saw it was his birthday today. And then yesterday, Derek Kalinowski, I saw it was his birthday. Jamie Yoder, who's all the way out in Hawaii, former Tour Mudcat player, and runs that Kiha rink out in Hawaii. So it was his birthday. And Scotty Sloan tomorrow, one of your 35 and over goalies for Team New York, didn't play this summer at State Wars, but normally he's a staple back there. A few guys in the net. Brian Watanabe from California tomorrow, another California player, stud back in the day. I remember him, one of my first years coaching in '95 in the junior division, how good he was. Pretty scary that he's playing 35 plus now. I remember him at 18 years old. It shows you how old I am, Greg.
He's almost 45 plus now.
Yeah, he's getting up there.
Yeah. Also, our boy John Kaminsky, Cracker from Long Island. It was his birthday yesterday as well. And Brendan Johnson, Todd Johnson's brother, Brendan Johnson from St. Louis. His birthday.
Johnson's always confused me. I don't know who's who in that family.
Brothers, cousins,
Yeah, there's a million Johnsons, I feel like.
Yeah, and we also have to bring up our boy Dexter. We had a birthday shout out to him yesterday. It was Dexter's birthday, our staff member Brian Richard. So hopefully he had a good birthday as well.
Yeah, hopefully his doggies got him something nice for his birthday. Yeah, shout out to Dex, who does a lot, like you mentioned on the on Instagram, a lot for our staff behind the scenes. Neatest handwriting in the game. He's definitely on Team North America of handwriting, Greg.
Yeah, I think so.
I know Dennis Jelsic tries to do his job at the board, and Dennis's middle name is Whiteout now. We call him Dennis Whiteout Jelsic for the errors at the board. But Brian, when he's up there, there's no whiteout needed. He's pretty spot on with that board, GT.
He is. He's flawless. Got actually a lot of birthdays tomorrow, Tim. An old teammate of mine, Ryan Bond from Michigan, his birthday tomorrow. Joel Lauer, longtime referee and official, West Coast guy. It's his birthday tomorrow. Old school Long Island player Tommy Riley. Mike Tillotson's birthday is tomorrow. Nicole Giannino, Palma Levada Golden Knights player, Team USA player. It's her birthday tomorrow. And Tark, our boy Sean Tark from Korea.
Korea, wow, okay.
His birthday tomorrow. Our boy Ziggy Ziegler.
Missouri?
Yep, Missouri. It's his birthday tomorrow, Chaos. There's a bunch. Shannon Kish. She's
happy birthday to Shannon, one of our favorite moms from Michigan.
Sarah Sinning as well, Tour Roadrunners player, Team USA player.
Okay.
Yeah, so the list goes on, Tim. Sorry.
A lot of birthdays in September. I guess that was a busy time of year. I guess 9 months. What was 9 months before September? It was a busy time.
Yeah.
All right, well, happy birthday to everybody. That's birthdays coming up here. If we missed you, we apologize. And let's move back here to State Wars. the Juggernaut division, which has gotten more and more competitive every year. Greg, remember we started the Juggernaut division about 5 or 6 years ago, and it's become just that, a Juggernaut. 10-team division. The only team to go undefeated, the only team to go 3-0 was Alkali St. Louis, 3-0, and then we had the Dragons from North Carolina and Iska Grizzlies from Jersey go 2-0-1. So they went undefeated as well with ties, but came down to at the end of the day, the rivals from California and the Iska Grizzlies from New Jersey in that championship game. After the Roadrunners going in, Roadrunners are always pretty
Favorites,
I would say, in a lot of these divisions. They have a lot of players from their pro team from New York, and the Roadrunners in that division, they had lost to the Tour Lizard Kings. I'm sorry, that was in the AA.
That was in the AA. Yeah,
they went to the AA final, so they didn't even qualify for the top group. That's
Yeah.
what happened there. I remember there was something with the Roadrunners, so they fell down. The top 4 made it. They fell down to the lower group, and then the Rivals and Iska went to the championship. And that Rivals team from California had a good group, and I don't say they dominated the game, but they won 4-1, and they pretty much controlled that game for the most part. And Kupahara had a big game that game with 2 goals, and Cody, how do you say his last name? Vanbakor, how he's mispronounced his name. Cody V. Let's call him Cody V. He had a goal and 2 assists in that game for the Rivals.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. Roadrunners had a tough schedule, and Alkali STL, they fell short in the semifinal game. I know their goaltender Kevin Johnson got hurt, so I think he was just kind of going through the motions during the last round robin game and the playoffs. You could tell he was really hurting, but he played well. He actually ended up taking top goalie in Juggernaut and Junior this year, so he had a great tournament. And
so Greg, when you say I don't want to argue with you here, but when you say the Roadrunners had a tough schedule, what do you mean by that?
Well, I know they going in, since we have only taken 4 teams, just looking at the schedule here. Let me just pull it up.
I mean, they mercied, they won 7-0 their first 2 games. They played 2 of the lower seeded teams, the Chaos and the Colorado Fire. And in their third game, they played Alkali STL. So they had, 1 tough game out of 3. And lost it 3-1. So at the end of the day, I feel pretty good about their schedule, and just you got to win games. They.
True. I mean, I guess they were 2-0. They went 2-1, and they fell to the bottom. So I mean,
right. Well, so did the Tour Lizard Kings. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, we probably ultimately could have added a couple teams to the higher. Looking back in hindsight, we could have had a couple teams more playing in the AAA. And looking at the other teams like the Dragons, they kind of had an easier schedule, I think, during round robin play. They didn't really get tested too much. So, just weighing out the schedule here.
Well, the Dragons played Iska that went to the championship, and they tied them 2-2. So again, again, that's what I talked about earlier about teams. When they don't make it, they look back and they go, "Oh, who can we blame? Let's blame the schedule." But bottom line is, you got to win your games, Greg. And have a tough one, you got to win it or tie it. And the Dragons had their tough one against Iska, and they got a point out of it, where the Roadrunners and the Lizard Kings both had 1 tough game, and they lost it, and they both fell to the lower one. So that's where, you got to really come to play every single game.
No, totally. I agree with you there. But, going into the tournament, on paper, I would say Roadrunners and Alkali are the top 2 seeds, in my mind, right? And they didn't have to play either of them in the round robin play. So that's just my 2 cents.
Right. Yeah, I think we had seeded going in. I think we had California and the Roadrunners as the top 2 seeds.
I mean, the Alkali roster changed by the minute, right?
Yeah, that changes 5 times a week. So I'd have to go back and look at the seeding, but I think the Rivals and the Roadrunners were the top 2 seeds going in, and the Rivals wound up winning the tournament. So there it is. So it just comes down to it's like a World Championships. We see it all the time. you got a lot of easy games and you have that one tough one. And if you lose it, you're out, like you got to come to play the big ones, not the mercy game. So, lesson learned for everyone in those games as well. But you got to come to play every single game. Leading scorer in that division after the round robin play in Juggernaut, we had Jarrett Westcott from that STL team, 12 goals, 1 assist. So 13 points for Jarrett, a great goal scorer there. And then we had a bunch of guys with 9 points. Alex Robinson from the Dragons, Eddie Dada from Iska, Grayson Yada from the Rivals, Joey DiMartino, and from the Roadrunners. So good job by all those guys. And then on the goaltending front, we had Kevin Johnson with a .941 save percentage from Alkali. So good job by Kevin, who always plays well at State Wars.
Yeah, and let's be honest, hats off to Tor Lizard Kings for beating a strong Roadrunners team in that AA final. Lizard Kings had a short bench, and they just kind of hung in there, and then they buried a couple towards the end. And Miles Harrington played great as always, but Ryan Bailey, Robbie Stryanese, those kids could play. They played a smart game, they played a smart system, and their goalie played great as well. Pretty short.
Amazing part about the Roadrunners, Greg, they had 5 games, they lost 2 of them.
Yeah.
That's a good team they got there with guys like DiMartino and Delamorte and Nick Berger and a couple of the younger guys. So just a tough game. And not having Max Halverson on that group this year, he aged out, so that just makes it a little tougher for them as well. Not having Max there, him and Joey D usually work so well together.
Totally, yeah. And it also hats off to the North Carolina group. They played an awesome tournament, and they took on whoever that was in front of them. So I don't want to take anything away from them because they had a good tournament. Let's we have to talk about the Iska Grizzlies here, right?
Yeah.
Iska, they have a good group of kids. They work hard. A lot of them are playing up in the pro division now, getting a lot of confidence, and they're getting a lot smarter with the puck. So they're playing a great game these days. So, hats off to Iska Grizzlies. Those kids are getting better and better. They don't really go out too far outside their circle. They kind of keep the same players around. Favaloro and Dada. Jack Vogel played with them. Ryan Graham, Zach Matesic, Nicky Dada, Andrew Otto, Jason Santarello. They have a good group of players, and McGarry and Rico and Net. A lot of familiar faces there, and those kids just get better and better, playing with each other. So, good job.
I like what those guys are doing there. Whether it's Jelsic or Otto or the Salt guys, Ganucci, Favloro. It's kind of the State War structure, right? They're building from within. New Jersey. And they don't really go too far. The pro team, they'll grab a couple guys here or there. But for the most part, they're just building a Jersey-based group, which is what really should be happening everywhere in the country. I mean, that's a State War structure, which is what's going to help the sport grow. And, I love seeing that with those guys. They stick with their guys. They'll bring in a guy or two, like we said, for pro, where you almost need to keep up with the Joneses. But they're doing a great job building from within in Jersey. And hats off to that whole Iska/Assault group out there. And then, get a guy like Scott Ives. We'll get into him in a little bit with Interwars from the Devils group. They're doing a really good job in New Jersey right now, overall. And that's a state, I think, down the road, 5-10 years from now, you're going to see as one of the stronger states in the sport. They keep doing what they're doing right now because they're building a really good program from within, as New York, actually, and a couple other states we see on the rebound. So we'll get back to that. But let's move into the junior division here, Greg.
Let's do it.
So Rink Rat Mambas, and I love that name, and that was in tribute to the late Kobe Bryant, that team name. And California this year, our plan was to have that Kobe tributed State Wars jersey in the colors, and I know they used some of it there with the colors, and we will be using that next year for tryouts in California, that color scheme. But the Mambas came out 3-0, Alkali STL again 3-0, and the Tour Roadrunners 2-1, STL Whalers from Missouri 1-1-1, Iska 1-1-1. Chaos Missouri 1-2, the Lizard Kings 0-3, they had a young group there, and the Alkali Flow City Greasers, love that name, from Illinois 0-3 for them. And high scorer in the junior division based on the round robin with 11 points great player. Now you mentioned him during the pro talk was Kyle Mayhew from the Mambas with 11 points. And then Delfino Varela and Kevin Mooney from that team as well with 7. They actually had the top 5 leading scorers in that tournament. Grayson Yada and Jaden Guzman, 2 great players from California as well. So just a great group overall. And they went on to win the championship in that division, Greg.
Yeah. They ended up playing the Tour Roadrunners in the finals. Tour Roadrunners played a lot better in the junior division, but they played Alkali Assault. Alkali STL in the semifinal, beat them 1-0, and then ended up losing a tough one in the finals to Rink Rat Mamba in overtime. And the overtime hero was our boy, and one of the hardest working guys in the sport, Will Shepard, also MVP.
Big shout out to Will.
Big shout out to Will. Also brought out some teams out to Winter Wars as well. Not so Winter Wars. But yeah, Will was MVP of the junior championship game with the game winner.
Yeah, and it's funny because I was busting Will's chops after the game because I watched that whole game, and I was actually filming a little on Facebook Live with my phone during it. I was upstairs with Trefty and Brown during that. And he made a really terrible play at one point, turned the puck over, and they almost scored the other way, which he didn't remember the play later on. I told him to go back and watch the video. And then he came through later on. And he's not known as the big goal scorer on that team. You look at some of those players, especially I think of Mayhew and Yada and Guzman and Har and Pilkington and these guys, goes on and on that team. And you look at their stats for the round robin, Mayhew had 11 points. Will Shepard he had 1 goal in the round robin, no assists. So he's not known as a scorer. He's more of that grinder for them. And he's such a good player, but he kind of plays that role. I'm going to stay back. I'm going to be smart. Let these guys roam around. And then he comes up with the winner in a 1-0 win against a great team, the Roadrunners. So, Roadrunners had a tough go this year, Greg. They were the bridesmaids 3 times in their championship games, which, again, I'll take it into the championship game any day of getting knocked out earlier. So hats off to Coach Vio and that group for a great tournament, 3 silver medals. But I know this one had to sting a little bit too because they're a top team in the junior division for sure. And to shut down that team, the Roadrunners, Greg, for 3 games, for those players they have for a full game and 1-0. Big shout out to Lane Hartwell, the goalie on the Mambas, for a shutout there. 1-0 is not the most normal score in a 4-on-4 roller hockey, and it went into overtime especially.
Yeah, and there were a lot of chances too, going both ways, back and forth. So he played great. He played awesome. He was actually at Winter Wars this week playing as well with Rink Rat, and he played another outstanding tournament. So Lane's a good goalie.
No, great job by Lane. And then the AA.
Yeah, Lizard Kings took home AA as well. They won Juggernaut and Junior AA. This time beating the Iska Grizzlies in overtime. That was another fun game as well. Iska was up 3-0 in that game, and the Lizard Kings came rolling back in. And Miles Harrington. Yeah, I think was it 4 straight? Yeah. And
they're up 3-0 Iska.
Yeah, and Miles Harrington. They were actually trading chances back and forth in overtime, and Lizard Kings were exhausted. There were a lot of penalties in overtime for the Lizard Kings. I'm pretty sure was that the Juggernaut. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I was thinking about the Juggernaut game, but yeah, the junior game, going back and forth. You could tell the Lizard Kings were real exhausted. They were tired, and they just stuck to their system, played well, and ended up burying at the end. So, hats off.
You see a lot of teams, GT, that, and I can't comment on this game specifically because I didn't watch enough of it, but that get a lead, especially a bigger lead, like you're winning 3-0 at halftime, you feel like you're in control.
Yeah. And
then you almost play differently, and whether you're subconsciously taking your foot off the gas or you start sitting back more and you maybe have a turnover, or you get a penalty and they score and momentum changes, and then suddenly you're in a game again. And I don't know if this was the case in this game specifically, but I've seen it a lot over the years where a team gets a pretty good lead and they blow it. And I think a lot of times they stop doing what's working, Maybe they're being selfish a little bit more, everyone wants to get a goal, or they play too defensive where they're pulling every puck back and they're passing back and they're stop trying to score, whatever it is. But I've seen it time and time again, Greg, where teams stop doing what's working, which makes no sense. And then suddenly they're in a game again and they're in this situation, they lose in overtime, a game they probably had pretty good control over at one point, up 3-0.
Yeah, Tim, and that's the thing, right? When you're playing a team like the Lizard Kings, who obviously had a short bench, they're exhausted. Why change a game? Keep your foot on the gas pedal and keep going. They're tired. Don't change the game.
Right.
But
because you score the fourth one, the game's probably over.
Yeah, exactly.
And then Miles Harrington, as you mentioned, no shocker, Mr. Georgia with the OT winner to win it 4-3. So shout out to Miles for a great tournament, as he almost always has at State Wars. And we've known Miles since a long time ago when he wasn't as big as he is now. Just that little guy at tryouts out at SGA.
Hair coming out of it.
Yeah, before the long hair and everything else. His dad, Tim Harrington, great guy from Georgia, always been a big help for us out there at our Southeast tournaments, whether it's us shipping medals to his house and trophies, driving them to the rink for us, or just helping organize tryouts and get players down there. Great ambassador for the sport down in Georgia. So big shout out to the Harrington family and for all they do for the sport. All right. So I think that's a wrap, Greg, on State Wars, right? So we've covered everything there. We're going to jump into Winter Wars a little bit here. And then next week, I'd like to get into a little bit, we just got all of our Palma Pro games sent to us on video. So we've been dissecting some of those games. So over the next couple of weeks, we're going to pull up some actual footage of some Palma Pro and then, dissect the games a little bit, Greg, which will be pretty fun to do, I think.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to that. It's funny, since we got the games, you've been sending little clips to me and just, telling, just trying to explain plays and stuff. I don't know if you've seen Instagram lately, but Sean Avery's been doing stuff like that
Right.
during the playoffs, kind of breaking down plays and stuff like that. So it's kind of cool. I think people will really like that.
Yeah, I want to share a couple pictures here. So here is our junior AAA champions here. We mentioned them. They weren't actually their groove jerseys, but there's the Mambas there. D-Max there, coach. You can see with his Rink Rat custom mask on there. But that's a great shot. Might be the last year of this trophy, Greg. We talked about it. Trophy's definitely taken a beating over the years. So we got to decide what we want to do with that trophy. But, moving forward. But great shot there is our boy sniper Jaden Guzman in the middle there. Hayden Boo Maxwell right next to him on the other side of the trophy. Just a lot of great players there from Cali.
Yeah, it's a pretty stacked team there. It's a good squad. Yeah, it's funny. People always ask, "Oh, do you guys clean that thing? Clean that trophy?"
Yeah, it's impossible.
Yeah, of course we do, but just throughout the years, it just kind of changed colors.
And there's our AA champs in junior. Is Miles Harrington on the left with his MVP trophy there, and our boy Josh Dunner. I don't know what he's doing in that picture.
Yeah, he was coaching them.
Yeah, so he ditched us on the pro bench this summer, which maybe was the reason we lost. And here he is on that team. So he's in as many championship photos as Griffin Kluzak, I think, at times. So
and Wilfredo.
That's our champs there. And we'll jump over to Juggernaut here. Here's a picture here of our Juggernaut champions. Californians, you can see from their jerseys there. Just another great shot. Another strong team there as well. AAA champions and Juggernaut. Great mixture, like I mentioned earlier, of the NorCal and SoCal guys on that team, Greg.
Yeah.
Then our AA champions are once again the Lizard Kings from Georgia. Okay. Good shot of them there as well with their tour unis on. That's one of the cool aspects this year, Greg. As much as I love our State Wars jerseys and what we do, it was cool getting to see some different uniforms this year and what guys would wear and what they brought. We saw a lot of cool ones, definitely in the adult divisions for sure. But that was the tour jerseys. Yes, I know the sponsors love getting to see their jerseys being shown. Here's our single A champions in the O2 division, the Inferno.
Wow, that looks like an army there.
say that hopefully there's no bench clearing brawls in that game because that team had a lot of guys there. Our buddy Tyler Davis up on the far right there, who's done a lot. John Niskowitz on the far left there, done a lot for the Inferno, and saw a lot of those guys this last weekend at Winter Wars from the Inferno. That group's just growing like weeds up there. So a big shout out to the Davis group at Hot Shots, and all they're doing up there is pretty impressive. And then, the AAA O2 champions, we had mentioned them in a few different divisions, but, Skittles, here we are there with P. Diddy, looking good there. Those guys, again, never really having a huge roster. Those guys always in the mix, doing it in multiple divisions, which is, like we said, pretty impressive. And that was them in the O2 AAA division. Our O2 AA champions, Greg, Skittles, right? So let me bring this back here. Hold on a second. Got to be an octopus to work this stuff here. Here's the Skittles. Again, different jerseys there. Rick Madrigal, Brad Nolte there coaching. Definitely good group there as well. Okay. Don't know why they don't have their championship hats on, but good job there by those guys. 2003, Farm Tough won the AA. We've shown their picture a few times. And then let's get into hold on 1 second here. Bear with me. Detroit Arsenal here. Okay, that was the champs there with Coach Tom Simo there. Great team. A lot of skill on that team, Greg.
Yeah,
for sure. Then our AA champions we had mentioned earlier. Once again, Farm Tough. Brains behind that operation. I'm going to go with Dylan Dale on that team there behind the bench.
totally.
Not sure if Tyler and those guys can get the hat over that hair and stuff like that. Looks like those two guys on the left are having a little trouble getting the hat on, but got to get more bigger hats next year. So we got in the 03s there. Then in the 2004 division, Farm Tough once again. I feel like we've said that name a lot today, Greg. AAA champions, 04 division. Great job by those guys. Had a hell of a tournament this year overall. 04 AA champions, Team Pennsylvania. See our boy Dave Porter right there in the middle on the far left there with the State Wars blue t-shirt on, polo, excuse me. Like that uniform he designed this year. That was a custom uniform they did for this team.
Yeah, that was cool. A lot of these teams did custom State Wars unis, which was pretty awesome to see. I know some of the younger New York teams did one. The men's teams, Team PA, pretty cool.
Yeah, and here's the Illinois Express there, winners in the single A division, 04. Great job by these guys. As you mentioned, had a heck of a tournament. So yeah, big shout out to all those teams. Probably should have shown those pictures as we were moving along before, but forgot to do it. So I want to make sure we got some pictures in. They just arrived there from our boys at
UC Photo
Group. Yep. So thank you for them getting stuff to us. And we're not going to go too much longer here, but let's dive a little bit into the Not So Winter Wars tournament, Greg. So what was your thoughts coming out of that one after a long weekend in Pennsylvania?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, there was half the amount of teams we expected from the March tournament originally. But
still had 85 teams though, Greg. Not too shabby.
Yeah, exactly, Tim. We have limited rink time in the area, with NERC being closed. Because they're considered Philadelphia, and
right.
All the rinks in Philadelphia are closed. So our only options were the Sportsplex and Marple. And with Marple hosting a flag football tournament that weekend, we had limited rink time available for that as well. So that's why the games were so late. But schedule master Tim McManus did a great job.
Only good at a few things these days, Gray. That's one of them.
Yeah, people just don't realize how hard it is to get a schedule going. With teams playing multiple divisions, or coaches, coaching multiple teams, or goalies playing multiple divisions. It's tough, Tim. And people just don't realize, why are our games so late? Well, your games are so late because you're in the men's division, you're in the adult division, and the kids are playing earlier. That's why. Do you want to play at 6 a.m., 7 a.m., or 5 o'clock on a Friday? So it's really difficult to do a schedule for sure.
Yeah, and unfortunately, sometimes people compare it to another tournament they may go to where it was a 10-team tournament. So of course you're going to play at 3 o'clock and 5 o'clock. You're in an 85-team tournament. Normally, Winter Wars is about 130, 40-team tournament. So we're so limited with time. And I think every year now people know, Winter Wars has been going on now since I think we started in 2007.
Yeah.
So 13 years we've been running that tournament. And for 13 years, it's been sold out. And, there's been guys that have been part of that tournament since day one. So, when you sign up for that tournament, I'm in for the long haul, get some Red Bull, get my, put a mattress in the rink, whatever we're going to do. We're going to be at the hockey rink a lot. And guys, for the most part, know that. They love it. Shout out to, Anthony Flynn at Marple, who opened up rink time for us there as well. Because originally we didn't have any rink time there. He made it available to us. And I know guys don't like going there, having to drive. Not they don't like going there, but driving back and forth. I know Vinny Comito made a joke earlier when we talked about pet peeves of the tournament. He mentioned driving to Marple. Even though the Assault had about 75 games this weekend, I think they had 2 games at Marple. So, we do our best to make sure teams aren't going back and forth if we don't have to. But, it's the only way we get the tournament in to have some games over there. So, it is what it is. And people that play ice hockey drive all over the place to play one game and that's it. So they're used to it in other sports. So it is what it is. It's a great weekend and a lot of great hockey. Let's cover a couple of these younger divisions here. So our 8 and under division, Greg, small division, 4 teams. And what was pretty amazing is, 3 of the 4 were from New York coming out. We didn't have a Pennsylvania team in that division, which is shocking. But again, it's a weird year. But the New York Titans, I know Corey Gindy, who kind of heads that group up from Long Island, and Dino Verone helps him out a little bit. They have a powerhouse team, and, they had met some players from Buffalo through State Wars last year, that kids that had tried out and made the team and came out to play. And so again, State Wars bringing people together to help grow the game. They got some of those guys to come out. They were, and we knew they would be. They were kind of a step ahead of everyone in that division. The team that gave them the toughest battle was the DSC Devils from Jersey, who had a 9-4 game to start the tournament. Then the Titans went on to win by mercy for 2, and then they won 7-0 in the championship against that Devils team. Just a pretty impressive group there. That Titans group.
Sorry, Tim. Yeah, talking with Scott Ives, one of the coaches of the DSC Elevated Devils, he's like, I'd rather play these guys 100 times,
Only going to get better that way, Greg.
Yeah, that's what he was saying. He goes, it's the only way our kids are going to get better is playing these better teams. And, I guess, they really enjoyed playing them, even though they got beat pretty good. You don't really hear that too often from teams. You always hear, the team's just way better than us. We shouldn't even be in the same division or whatever. But he's one of those guys that he's positive. He's like, because I'd rather play those guys every game and, just learn from our mistakes and try to get better and playing against better kids. So we give him credit for that.
Yeah, and I love Scott's attitude with all that. And Scott's old school, he grew up in the 90s in the game, and he understands, like when I was coaching the Snipers, as you know, Greg, starting in the 90s, there was a good period of time where we were probably considered the best organization in the country, or one of in the sport. And we had teams in all different age groups, and we always pushed our guys up, locally. We played up divisions. I had teams playing in men's leagues when they were in their, younger, to play up against older guys. I put my goalie on other teams to get shots. We did everything we can to get more competition, because the only way you get better is to play against better competition. And this is how we always done things. And I think, as most good teams don't just start out great. They go to tournaments, they take their lumps a little bit, and they get better, you know. And I know Jay Miro has talked about that with Black Ice before, about coming to tournaments when he first started, getting killed by teams, whether it be a Snipers or 99ers or some of the teams that were already going, and you just never imagine getting that good. And then before you know it, you're that team that's doing great, you know. So you just got to stick with it. And you know, I look at that Titans team, and I think one of the advantages they have, and I don't know all the kids, but I think they have a lot of second-year eights, where I think some of these other teams, like I know Jay Miro's team, I think Dino's team, the Excelsior, had a lot of first years.
And some 6 and unders.
Yeah, 6 other kids playing up. So they probably had that. And then at this age, especially that 1 year, I mean, we talked about earlier how Farm Tough from 04 to 03.
Mm-hmm.
I know from having a younger daughter who's 7, that 1 year is a huge difference with kids. Even from being born in January to October sometimes at a younger age could be a big difference, let alone a whole year. So that's a big part of that team, but they're not taking anything away from them. They're a great team. That Zeb Zollinger kid led the team with 9 points. That Fishback kid, I know Luke Height, Gindi, Cole Gindi, Puma, Chalupa, and I mentioned Joey Lacaprucia on that team as well. So I don't leave anybody out. That whole team is good. And David Stefaniak, who played great at State Wars. It's just a great group overall on that team, and one that I expect to be a good team for a long time coming, Greg. And you know, it's and then you know, overall in that division, looking at the round robin here, that Zeb Zollinger kid, you know, he was the high scorer, no shock, with 9 points. But what we did in that division, everybody, is because we only had 4 teams, and we knew there was a little disparity. Instead of having a 1-4 blowout semifinal and 1 champion, we did 2 champions, and we had a separate championship game with Black Ice and Long Island Excelsior. So 2 of our buddies, Dino Verone and Jason Miro, met in that championship then. And, you know, great game there for those teams to play. You know, Black Ice, a little stronger. They won 9-2 in that final game. But you know, great for those kids to be able to get a medal, you know, have another, Greg, you know, another team there to go home with a trophy. And that's really what it's all about at this age group, you know?
Yeah, no, 100%, Tim. You know, it's funny, back when we first started playing tournaments, it was just one division. You know, you went to a tournament, it was one division. You get blown out, you get blown out. And that was it. And that's how you kind of learned, right? You know, nowadays we have 2 divisions, you know, catering to skill levels, which is cool. And I think people really do appreciate it. But getting into that 8 and under final, the AA final, Zeb Zollinger took home MVP for that game as well. So not only did he get the high scorer, but he also got most valuable player.
Okay. Yeah, and you know, someone had written on here that Sapoff was their goalie for the 8 and under. I don't know why we have David Stefaniak on the roster here. I don't know if something changed, Greg, with that.
I don't know either.
But once again, then we talked about earlier about we can only go by rosters that are given to us and names that are given to us and spellings and numbers and whatnot. So, you know, it is what it is. But, you know, I want to mention it, and we talk about this every week, how people that we know getting their kids playing and the future of the sport, you know, on that Excelsior team, you know, we have 2 buddies, you know, Chris Medulla's son, Braden, who, you know, was one of the stronger players on our team, big boy, you know, nicknamed T-Bone. He was on that team. So he's got his boys playing out this weekend, 10 and under Luke and then Braden. And then I want to mention also little Carter Tiffenworth, who's still a 6 and under, who his uncle, KJ, is a big part of the Black Ice pro team. And as his dad, CJ, brought him out there. And a great story. We had heard that the day before the tournament, I think it was his first game played at Skate Safe ever in a league. And he slept the whole night with his skates on, getting ready to come to Winter Wars the next day. He was so excited. So love hearing stories like that, Greg, how excited these kids get, and really makes you think back to when we first started, how, you know, you take it for granted sometimes how much these younger kids just love it.
Yeah, it's so cool, man. And I just feel like it was yesterday when we were going to tournaments at Bulldog Arena here on Long Island, you know, packed out tournaments. I still remember, you know, I was 12 years old, and KJ was, you know, I think there's an 8-year difference. So he was like 4. And I still remember him skating around Bulldog Arena with his skates on, you know, stick handling, doing his little things.
Mm-hmm.
And now, you know, how many years ago was that? That was 33, 30 years, 28 years ago. Sorry, not a math guy. It was 28 years ago, and now all of a sudden it's come full circle. And I see Carter doing the same stuff that KJ was doing
Right.
back when he was a little guy.
Yeah.
It's funny. I saw CJ and his wife trying to chase down their little guy, and he was just having a blast, skating around the rink, skating with the kids, just enjoying himself. So it's pretty cool to see that come for full circle.
Well, you forget all the time, Greg. Like even, a couple weeks ago, my 10-year-old was playing in a soccer tournament and they wound up winning, or she actually got second place and they got a medal. And, in soccer, it's like a 2-cent medal. But even her at 10, she's going to the 6th grade. She was wearing the medal the whole car ride home. I look in the back seat. I see she's still wearing the medal. I was kind of surprised, but she hasn't played a ton yet and won a medal, and she was so pumped. So
Yeah.
you forget how important it is to these kids, and even some of the adults. We made a joke the other day. We saw, I don't know if anyone had saw it, but on the internet there was a pretty cool video of the Dallas Stars after they had knocked off the Vegas team in the locker room, and I guess for their player of the game they give out this chain. It's almost like a big dog chain with I don't know if we get a video of it up, Greg. And it's so big and bulky, and they give it to the goalie who goes nuts. And I made a joke that's what the State Wars medal must seem like to these little kids, how big and heavy it is. But if we get a chance to pull that up, we will. But yeah, these medals mean a lot to these kids. And the medals we gave out this year were actually the medals we had made in March. So the March date was still on them, but we were like, you know what? We spent about $5,000-$6,000 on medals that have been sitting at the rink since March. We're using these medals. So
Yeah.
I'm sorry. That's how it goes.
They're nice medals too. So.
Yeah.
Really.
We'll move into the 10 of the division here. So same thing, Greg. We had 4 teams. Top 2 would play in one file. Next 2 would play another. And again, Long Island, the 495ers doing really well, doing good things. 3-0 in the round robin. Coach Dino Verone with that team, big shout out to the Botkins who help out a lot with that group, getting that team together. But they played great and went to the AA final, and the Outlaws, who they had only beaten 4-0, another buddy of ours, the Silva family there, son Alex is in goal there. Angel's dad, who's the coach of the team, does a lot for the sport in Pennsylvania. They had only lost 4-0 in the round robin, but the 495ers came out in fire in the championship game and won the game 8-0. So pretty big game there from the 495ers. Peter Phelan in that game had a hat trick, and Chase Gindy, I'm a big assist guy, Greg. 3 apples in that game from Gindy. So pretty good win for those guys. 8-0. That team's pretty special.
Yeah, they have a good team. A lot of those players were supposed to come to State Wars this year, and I think a lot of them were on the 2008s, and they ended up bailing towards last minute. Yeah, good group of players. I know they were missing Datlow this weekend, and they still got the job done. So yeah, that's a good team. It's a real good team, and Peter Phelan ended up getting most valuable player of the championship game.
Yeah, no, and then that Mission Black Ice team, Jason Mura, I'm real proud of him. He's doing a great job out at Rapid Fire with these younger teams, getting kids playing. Like, it's so easy to just live off the laurels of his older teams and be done with it. He's starting again with these guys, and they wound up going to the A championship and playing the DSC Lebeda Devils there and winning 5-2. So Black Ice taking home a championship in that division, another good win, another gold medal for the Black Ice group. So congrats to those guys for the 10 and under single A champions. And then 12 and under, same thing. We had a AA division here. It was a 6-team division. We had 3 teams that went 3-0. Mission Black Ice, the Long Island 495ers, the Long Island 495ers blue team there. Black Ice. I know Jason came in telling us he was really happy with his 12U team. Thought he had a real special team there in 12U. Yeah. So they wound up taking home the AA championship 6-0 over the Long Island 495ers. And, you know, Jake Strong was strong, no pun intended, in that game with 3 assists, and Josh Rowland, three goals for Black Ice, and Nigel Smith, who's always been a good goaltender from, had the shutout for those guys in the championship game. And then in the other side of it, the Inferno Pistons wound up winning the single A championship 7-5 over the Long Island 495ers blue team, who's a very good team as well.
Yeah.
That blue team had a good tournament, Greg. Chase Gaughan, who's always been a stud, 5 points for the Inferno, 2 goals, 3 assists. Mackenzie Grimm, 2 goals and assists, 3 points in that game for the Pistons. And Nicholas Mule, 3 goals, 2 assists, 5 points. And head coach Mike Levine, who I went to high school with, actually, great guy. Jake Levine had a goal and assist, 2 points for the 495ers. Ian Vaughn in goal with the win for the Pistons. So another great division with the 12U, GT.
Yeah, 12U was really good. Black Ice was definitely stronger than the rest. You know, they played a younger and smaller 495er team in the championship game. It was definitely
basically the 10s playing up, right, Greg? It was basically the 10s playing 2 divisions for the most part.
Correct. Yes,
Yeah.
and you know, the size difference was a little. You know, 495 was a little smaller, but they played great. They played strong, and it's the only way they're going to get better is, you know, playing older kids. You know, better competition. You know, that's why I think the Titan team should have maybe played 10 and under as well, as a team, just because, you know, they weren't really getting much better out there playing against, you know, teams that are, you know, they're in their birth year or, you know, younger. So
yeah.
I definitely think they should have played 10 and under. But you know, hats off to 495ers. You know, their program seems to really be getting bigger and stronger, and kids are getting better. You know, so.
Oh, yeah.
So
Coach D, you know, we'll do a real talk shout out to Coach D. He's doing a great job training these kids. You know, yeah, 495ers definitely. We mentioned it earlier about New Jersey. You know, building up the programs again. Long Island, New York, same thing. You know, back when I was playing, and then when I started coaching, you know, we were up there in the country, Long Island wise. When you were playing, starting out with the Roller Dragons and came to the Snipers, same thing. You know, you look at a NARC schedule, California, Missouri, Michigan, Long Island, like those were the teams like you thought of, and maybe some Florida here or there. But Long Island was always up there in every division, and then there was a lull for a while. But now, once again, Long Island getting back on the map, baby, and I love seeing it as a Long Islander.
Yeah, no, it's awesome. It's cool to see. And, you know, if the Islanders maybe make it to the Stanley Cup and hoist the cup, could be a little more hockey here on Long Island. So.
Yeah, let's hit the brakes on that one. I think tonight's the night. I think Lightning tonight. I'm sorry for all those Islander fans out there. I am a Ranger fan. I'll preface by saying that, but I'm also a Pat Maroon fan. But I don't know if Braden Point's playing tonight for the Lightning or not. He's a difference maker, but I could see. Obviously, it's going to sound like a dumb comment, but if the Islanders could win tonight, I think they're winning it all. But I could see if I was a betting man, I have my money on the Lightning tonight. But we'll see. Whoever thought Dallas Stars would be on the other side, right? I mean, people had Vegas picked. People had a lot of teams picked over there. I think Dallas Stars and the Islanders were the 2 lowest to make the Stanley Cup once the playoffs got set after that opening round. I think they were the odds were the biggest on those 2 to make it.
Well, let's be honest, you know, after, you know, quarantine, it's like a new season, right? It's crazy.
Yeah.
I just wish, you know, 2 years ago, a couple of years, maybe was it 2 or 3 years ago, we were in Vegas and I actually put $100 on Dallas to win the cup. I wish it was this year.
Yeah. Now, speaking of the NHL, you know, we haven't mentioned it yet. We got to mention our good friend. So, you know, one of our best buddies, Pete Penicky, who worked for State Wars at one time. He's was my old-time goaltender originally when I started the sniper program back in 1996. He was our starting goalie, won numerous championships with Pete in goal. And then he runs the 35 and over New York team that Greg's playing on now. Great guy. He works for the NHL, and he's been in the bubble. You know, he's been out in Vancouver or Edmonton. Was he Edmonton, right? Edmonton since the beginning. It'd be 73 straight days he'd be out there. And he's got 3 little kids, a wife. So it's not easy. You know, he's been out there since the beginning. And NHL.com actually has a little thing on him talking about important people in the bubble, all the work he's doing. He was running the Edmonton practice facility during all this, but he's been out there the whole time working it. So pretty awesome, the stuff he's been doing out there and just telling us stories about everything going on there and just how great the NHL, the job they've been doing on the whole keeping people safe, and knock on wood, they haven't had one person get sick out there, and just the stuff he had to deal with. Pete personally, he's got a GPS on his car. He can only go from the hotel to the rink, can't stop anywhere. He can't stop to get to McDonald's, which has got to be killing him if you know Pete. Can't stop off to get a bite. But you know, hats off to Pete. He's doing a great job out there, you know, and look forward to seeing him coming back. It's been, I feel like it's been an eternity. I know it killed him not to be at State Wars this summer with the boys, GT.
Yeah, it really killed him. He, you know, he was texting the guys after each game, you know, checking in, and you know, Pete, he loves it. You know, he loves it. He texted me 100 times this morning already about the fall invitational.
Right.
But yeah,
He just gave us a shout out, Pete. He's watching right now. So Pete, working hard in the bubble. Good to hear from him here. And honestly, Greg, I think you guys missed having him on the bench at State Wars this year. I mean, you guys still got to the final, but he's done a great job with that 35 team, just keeping guys calm. And you know, it's always easy to have a guy making the changes for everybody, right? Making decisions. Whereas the last thing you want to be doing as the player is being a player coach. Being Reggie Dunlop's not easy.
Yeah, it's tough. Sean McGrath kind of took the reins with that this summer, but it's always nice having Pete behind the bench, kind of running everything, you know, as a player slash.
Then it takes away from Sean's game too. I mean, I've done it and you've done it. It takes away from your own game when you're doing it.
It's tough. You just be put in that spot, then you feel guilty, you know, not putting certain players in at certain times, and it's just it's terrible. So yeah, wish we would have had Pete there this summer. Definitely would have helped big time, I would say.
Everyone check out NHL.com if you can find that article, that little video on Pete. He's done an amazing job for the NHL, and they're lucky to have him there. You know, another buddy of ours too, he little shout out here, Scotty Beans, Liebs, our buddy Lieberman, who's a huge Islander fan. If I know Scotty, he's the guy watching the game tonight with a jersey on and a hat on and everything. He worked for us at Winter Wars. You know, it's been a long time coming to get him out to Winter Wars to ref. And I know it meant a lot to him. And he did a great job, GT, and it was great having him out there.
Yeah, Scotty Beans, he's been waiting for that moment for a long time, and he could finally check it off his bucket list to ref at Winter Wars and State Wars event. Scotty did a great job.
All the refs did, you know, and we got to mention Joe Simpson too. I know he's watching because he's got nothing to do all day. But you know, Joe got hit in the thumb and thought he broke his thumb early in the tournament on Friday, and he kept reffing. You know, most guys would have been like, you know what, I'm done, Tim. I'm sorry, but he knew how important the tournament was and how much it would affect the schedule if he just dropped out on us. And he kept working along there with, I don't think it was the thumb wound up being broken, just really badly bruised. Yeah, but he couldn't even use his one hand to pick the pucks up and whatnot. And he had come up to me after he got hurt and just said, hey, as long as you don't mind, my partner's got to drop pucks every time, I'll keep going. I'm like, buddy, do what you got to do. I don't care if you use your feet to pick the puck up. Just keep reffing. So big shout out to Joe Simpson as well, who, you know, did great and just, you know, was a great soldier out there for us, but you need guys like him chipping in and helping out. So all our reps did a great job. I want to mention those two guys, Scotty Bean and Joe Simpson, for sure. Yeah,
you know, Joe puts a lot of time and hours into Winter Wars. You know, if he's at Marple or, you know, Peaceville, he's there opening, closing, sleeping in his car, you know, icing his arm, his hands. You know, he did a great job, and you know, he always does. So thanks to both those guys for an awesome weekend. And you know, a lot of reps don't get, you know, a lot of the staff members behind the scenes don't really get enough credit. And refs and scorekeepers are the biggest, I think. You know, but they put a lot of hours in. You know, especially the scorekeepers too. You know, they're sitting behind the clock for hours upon hours, and it's a tough job. But you know, we have a good staff. We have some great kids who work for us, and it's great to have them all. So thanks, guys.
Yeah, you know, we're the faces of the company, Greg, and we're always out front, and we get all the credit and whatnot. And we get the crap too if we have to deal with something. But there's so many important people behind the scenes that make it go. And like I always use the analogy about spokes on a wheel, right? I mean, we're all just another spoke on that wheel, and if everyone doesn't do their part, State Wars isn't the best tournament in the world. Everyone's got to do their part, and guys like Joe and Beans and all the other guys that worked this weekend did a great job, and even gals, Amanda and scorekeeping. Everyone does their part, and we thank everybody for chipping in and doing well. Let's cover one more division here on Winter Wars. Let's go with the 14U AA. So here in the AA division, the Inferno went 3-0, and I look back at the 14U division now, and it just bugs me a little bit because, we separate the divisions where we need to, but here's one I kind of wish we would have had one big division, because, you got the Richmond Rattlers who went 0-3 and they got mercied every game, and they came a long way, and you feel bad for a team like that. But, they signed up for AA, and I don't know that team from Adam, and neither do you, so we put them where they wanted, but obviously they should have been in the single A. And that Rink Rage team, they were back and forth. Their coach was going back and forth with us, and we already made the schedule about moving them around. So they went 1-2. And I'm not saying they should have been in single A because they were a pretty good team. But then you get a Black Ice team that in the 14U single A, they dominated, went 3-0 with a +22 differential. And then you wonder, should they have been in that other division? But I don't know how they would have done, So you kind of wish maybe you had one big division in this one, I think, in hindsight, and then split it up from there.
Yeah.
And I think it would have, again, you would have had some mercies with teams, but I kind of wish we would have done that. We kind of knew the Inferno team was a step above everybody else, but that Alkali Rebel team, New York, everyone had Inferno winning this whole thing, and it wound up being a 5-4 championship game with the Inferno and the Alkali Rebel. Coach Chris Hoysick couldn't be there this weekend, unfortunately, but last minute for him. But that team still came to play, and that wasn't a big shock to me. Peter Bassis, I mentioned him earlier, who's turned into a stud of a player, a big boy. 2 goals in that game came to play. And Max Sokol for Inferno, 3 goals and just 4 points. And Nick Mattis, 2 points. Austin Sobelson, another great player, a goal for them. So great game in that championship, Greg, in the AA, 5-4. But everyone else, I think, was a little bit below these teams. And I think Black Ice might have been able to play with these teams.
Yeah, it's, looking back, obviously, it would have been nice to have one big division. Feel bad for the Rattler team, 100%. They definitely took their lumps this tournament. But, hopefully they come back, just like we did back in the day. When we first started going to tournaments, I know my first couple kind of got our butts beaten pretty good, but we, just kind of like fed us, like to be hungrier.
Right.
And, wanting to get better and playing against the best competition. And, next time, hopefully they come back and we'll see them properly for sure.
Yeah. It's really tough to do it. And I mentioned that single A division, the Black Ice, they went 3-0. The DSC Lebated Devils went 3-0. Both teams, pretty good teams. And, and they did have a good championship game. I mean, Black Ice won 5-0. So obviously they were a step above the rest. And Jay Muro and I, as you know, Greg, we're all very close friends. We talk daily about this team, and he wasn't sure where to put him. He's like, I got some really strong. I got some newer kids. And so it was no evil intent on anyone's part with that. Sean Bass had 2 assists. Josh Rowland, the goal and assist. Dom Filer with 2 goals in that game for those guys. And John Izzo in goal with the shutout.
Mm-hmm.
So, a good team, that Black Ice team in 14U as well. But the next one for sure, I would bump those guys up to the top division if we had a split for our full invitational, which we'll mention in a second. Well, let's just keep rolling here a little bit while we're moving along. 16U AA, 5-team division. That Porter team again, Team Pennsylvania, they went 4-0 in that division. They wound up winning the championship game 5-4 in overtime, Greg. I know I wasn't there for that championship game. You were there. It was right before the pro game. So I'm not sure how much you got to check out before the pro final, but 5-4, pretty wild one there with, just a back and forth game. Torresold actually was up 3-0. And we talked earlier about stop playing the way you're playing. I don't know if they did or not, but, great game there. 5-4 win in overtime for Pennsylvania. And in the 16U A division, 4-team division as well there. Black Ice was 3-0 again in that division. They beat the Alkali Rebel 8-4 in the championship game there. for Black Ice. Well-rounded effort overall. I know their roster's missing some names here and stuff online, so I can't even mention names, but James Hedquist stepped it up with 4 points and a hattie for Alkali in that division. So Black Ice definitely dominated the A divisions this weekend. And then in the 18U here, it was a double A division with a split. The Inferno with 3-0, Tor Assault was 2-0-1, and the Inferno lost actually to the Assault 5-3 in the championship. Tor Assault came to play in that one, another great game. I know Frankie Gyrak's pretty good player for the Inferno every year. He's always impressive. Gage Clark, a goal and an assist, and Tor Assault, Dom Troosi had 2 points for those guys, and another strong effort. The Assault guys aren't the best at getting their rosters in on time, Greg, and something we're gonna have to talk to John and Justin about. That's their downfall, getting names and numbers properly to us. So their stats are always all over the place. So a little frustrated when I look at that right now.
I know, we send a gazillion emails out, texts, get bits and pieces here and there. And it's tough sometimes, it's, at that age, you're like, oh,
Italian teams,
yeah, that's when you need a manager to just kind of take charge of the teams and do all the dirty work, the managerial stuff. But at that age, kids secretly do like watching their stats.
Of course,
they might say they don't, but they really do. So it'd be nice to really get everything done properly next time.
Yeah, and in the 18A final, Iska Grizzlies played Pura. So California, our buddy Will Shepard, we mentioned earlier, he brought out a couple of youth teams, 16s and 18s from Pura, which is awesome. Maybe we'll get them back in November, which would be great. Not a lot of hockey going on in California right now, unfortunately. So Iska, though, with a great game. Pura came back, scored 2 late goals, made it a 4-3 game. It ended that way. Iska with the win. Chris Cromwell, great player, Greg, for Iska, with a hat trick in the final, 3 of the 4 goals. And Dominic Hofferberger, known as Boogie from California, another great player. Goal and assist, 2 points for California. And Giselle Patel played pretty well in goal for those guys. And, Dennis McGrary for Grizzlies, always a top-notch goaltender. So
yeah,
that was the 18s.
I felt bad for Pura's Nolte. Nolte broke his stick. His skates. I think in the last round robin game, and he's a size 11.
Oh wow!
We ended up going to Pure Hockey. There was no size 11 skates or frames there.
Oh jeez.
Yeah, so I think they were asking around the rink, and I'm like, yeah, I couldn't really help him. I was asking a couple people, who's a size 11, 12,
Yeah.
So I think they ended up crazy gluing his frame together. I don't know how well it worked, but he made do with what he had. Kind of stunk. I felt bad from making the trip all the way out here and
making a skate. You don't think about bringing 2 skates, but you bring 2 sticks. You don't bring 2 skates, right?
Yeah, especially a size 11, right?
Oh yeah. I put 2 of my skates together for that. The junior division, the Tor Roadrunners, 3-0 there. We've always talked about their junior team. So on the East Coast here, they're the team to beat. No shock. They played the Mission Black Ice. Pennsylvania had a Pennsylvania Mission Black Ice team, which is pretty good. Dave Christopher with a goal and assist, 2 points. Max Halverson, goal and assist. Jordan Mueller, a goal and assist. Blake Bennett, goal and assist. That's almost a pro team they got there, GT. The Roadrunner junior team winning that championship over Black Ice. And, good stuff there. And
that Liberty team was very good too. In junior division, they got better and better as the games went on. But yeah, that was a very good team as well. And,
for sure.
Blake Bennett ended up taking home MVP honors for the junior division. So.
Right. Yeah, let me go back there. Junior division high scorer in that division through round robin play, 8 points. Max Halverson, no shock. Blake Bennett was second with 7 points. Senior AA division here. High scorer Brett Jackson, TNT Bullies, New York, and Ryan Marker with 10 points. Hope you got his points right, Greg. I know he likes to
Yeah.
make sure those points are right.
Yeah. Mark is a big stat guy.
Yeah, he likes the stats.
He likes his stats.
But great player. He deserves them. But the DSC Lebeda Devils was 3-0 in the round robin there. New York City Empire 2-1. I really love what the Empire are doing as well with their adult program there. Otto's doing a great job there. SK Nightmare 2-1. Bad news, 1-1-1, who is kind of my pick going into it, to be honest with you. Yeah. And they wind up going on then and getting on a hot streak and winning the whole damn thing.
Yeah, I think they kind of had a couple guys who haven't been playing too much hockey. Not that anyone's playing a lot of hockey right now, but I felt like they just got better and better as a team. And that was a strong division. You know, the Coasters had a real good team. They were in every game. You know, the Empire team, you know, it was a lot of their, you know, they had a couple of their 35 and over guys playing. They picked up some younger guys like Carp and Green and a couple others, but they had a good mix of players, man. And Tommy Nostromo in goal, you know, he played phenomenal over the weekend, and you know, they're doing some good stuff over there, the Empire.
No, for sure. And that bad news team, you know, 2 points in the final. Nicholas DeSalvo, Ryan Sobeski, you know, great players there. They won the championship 4-1. Yeah, no, good division overall. And you got to mention that Coasters team, Greg, from Connecticut. I know I mentioned in a little blog during the tournament, but Adam, I don't know if you pronounce the last name Ernie or Ern. Adam Ern on that team, 5 points, led the team in scoring. Pretty impressive guy, you know, out of Connecticut, and you know, not a huge roller hockey guy. And watching him play, I don't think you'd watch him saying, "Oh wow, this guy was in the NHL." You can tell watching him play because he's new more to the wheels, I think. But looking him up here, second round draft pick in 2013 by the Tampa Bay Lightning. Played 56 games last year, Greg, with the Detroit Red Wings, and played the season before Tampa Bay Lightning. 65 games played, 20 points, 7 goals scored. He's played 170 games in the NHL, 32 points. So that's a player right there. You know, that's just not a guy at a cup of coffee there. He's played 170 games the last 3 seasons. Pretty impressive stuff, and we were proud to have him at the tournament.
Yeah, he's legit NHL player. You know, you can kind of tell out there. I don't think he's, you know, skated on inlines too often, but you know, the skating wasn't the best. His strides weren't the best, but you know, he's definitely choppy. But he could shoot the puck and play the game. He knows how to play hockey. So his skill set was very, very high, and he could bury the puck, and especially in prime opportunities. So yeah, he was pretty good for those guys.
It's pretty funny, Greg. You know, we think back at State Wars. We've had some players over the years come through State Wars are now playing in the NHL. You know, obviously Pat Maroon we talk about a lot. You know, Troy Terry from Colorado, who's now playing with Anaheim. Brandon Carlo, who was on that same team with Troy Terry in Colorado, that's playing with the Boston Bruins. And he's like an example of it. Like, I don't even remember him that much in the tournament. I look back at his stats, not very impressive compared to AJ Vanderbeck or Troy Terry on that old 97 Colorado team. And you look back and you go, and this guy's the most successful NHL player out of all of them, you know. And we've had some players from Canada come through. Alex DeBrincat, who's playing with the Blackhawks, who's a stud, played for Michigan at State Wars. You know, we've had what's his name from Texas on the '93 team. You know what I'm talking about.
Nosen.
What? Yeah, Stefan Nosen. Yeah. So you know, he was a good player at State Wars. Obviously, he wasn't at the top like a Case and Holman on his team, but you know, again, NHLer, you know, like, so you never really know with these guys, you know, who's going to make it and whatnot. And there's so many different skill sets out there. But that kid, you can see his hands, but he could shoot the puck.
Yeah.
And our referee, Joe Simpson, shout out that he was a real class act on the rink, very professional, which is the greatest compliment to say about him. Yeah,
that's great. Yeah. We've had a number of NHL players over the years, you know, at State Wars, which is pretty damn cool to see. You know, Brandon Carlo was actually on the A team a lot of years, 96 A team.
Wow.
Yeah, he didn't even play AAA on the high end Colorado team. So just goes to show you, man.
What's he like, 6'5" out there, Greg? He's a big boy out there, boy.
He's a beast.
Yeah, he's a great player on the Bruins.
I think he's slotted as 6'5". Yeah.
Yeah,
So
that's not on skates.
that's
So
what
let's talk about this senior A division, Greg. So it was our biggest division, 16 teams, always a tough one. The MR2 Eskimo Brothers and the Rink Rat Impact from Jersey and New York, respectively, both were 3-0. Long Island Raw was 2-0-1. But then you get to the playoffs and things change. There's always some upsets here or there. And that Jaguars team that went 2-1 in the round robin, they get on a little run in the playoffs, and they've won before, I believe. They come out now, and the quarterfinal, they defeated the Rink Rat Impact 3-0. Then they get to the championship after they beat MR2 Eskimo Brothers in the semis. I think it was in overtime, and then they beat the DSC Lebeda Devils, who's a tough team. They had a good team out at State Wars as well, 4-2 in the championship. Brendan Scally with a goal and assist, 2 points for them. Casey Forte, 2 goals for DSC Lebeda Devils. But that was a game again. Jaguars came out 4 straight. Then they fell asleep a little bit. Devils came back with 2, and they held on to win 4-2 there. And Jaguars winning goalie Christopher Notley.
Yeah, that division is always like a coin flip, right? Every team's pretty competitive. Going in, I kind of had the East Coast Impact team doing pretty well.
Yep.
Maybe winning the tournament. Just being familiar with some of those guys.
Mm-hmm.
They actually had a real good game against the Empire the night before playoffs. I think it was the last round robin game, or maybe the second round robin game. It was a pretty heated match. A lot of back and forth action. Great game. But that division's pretty fun to watch because you just don't know who's going to win.
Right.
Everything's pretty competitive, and it's such a big division. Depending on who you play in round robin, who knows? What's going to happen. But you can't really always base it on your seeding in round robin because there's a lot of good matchups during that. It was a good division as always.
Casey Forte again from the Lebeda Devils, 8 points, high score of that division. So shout out to Casey for the great tournament. And then moving into the old men divisions here, 35 and over and 45, which are always really competitive in these Winter Wars events or any events we hold out on the East Coast. Always tough divisions. The 35 and over division was a 4-team division. Pulling it up here, I'll probably my computer for a second. But the Empire, Lebeda Devils, and Taurus Salt, Greg, all went 2-1. And, again, with only 4 teams, the top 2 went right to the final. And it stinks, but it came down to goal differential for 3 teams. And New York Empire, with a +3, which is still good, didn't make it, where the other 2 teams had +6 and +8. And that's why we talk about, Greg, and this is the thing guys forget, every goal matters every game. It could be the first game, you make a bad line change, take a dumb penalty, you have that late goal in a 4-0 game, they wind up winning the game 4-1 or 4-2. That goal could come back and bite you in the ass later on.
Yeah.
And it's so tough. And, the Empire, unfortunately, who are a great team, my buddy Frankie Peretti and David Cull and Ryan Carey and all the boys on that team, they deserve to be in that playoff, but unfortunately it was just top 2, best of the best, and they were out. So it was the RGB Lebeda Devils and the Taurus Salt, both 2-1 in the championship game for that one. I know during the round robin when those 2 teams played each other, the Devils had nipped them 2-1, but it was the other way around in the final. Those Taurus Salt guys, boy, they come to play in the championship, and we'll get to that in the 45s as well, as I experienced. But 7-3 win in the final. It was a back and forth game for a while. Then the Jimmy McGrath and the boys, and I'm always a big Jimmy McGrath fan, as I know you are as well. Great player. I think he was the MVP. He gets the boys going. I mean, it's funny. He was MVP. I don't know if he even had a point in that game. But Phil Townsend, 4 goals, 2 assists for 6 points. And on the Devils side, Sean McCarthy, 2 goals. But the Assault will be on top 7-3.
Yeah, Jim McGrath's a beast out there. He works his tail off out there and does it both sides of the rink. And give the Taurus Salt credit. I mean, a lot of those guys play 45 and over too.
Yep.
You know,
No.
so
They only played 3 divisions. They played single A as well. I don't know how they do it, these guys. I was tired after 1 division.
I know.
You know,
Right.
Carmelo Stracuzzi, former sniper, no biggie. 8 points, Empire, leading scorer. Another good player, great shot there. And, 45 and over division, another 4th team division, the Beta Snipers, Torresol Bombers, Richard Austin, New York. Snipers were 2-0-1 after the round robin. Team I played on, we were at first place. We beat the Assault, who was probably the favorite going in the round robin. Our goalie, AJ Frey, had a great game that game. They outplayed us. He played great for us in that game.
Yeah, AJ played great all weekend. 35s as well. But yeah, I didn't watch that championship game. I watched your semifinal against Richard Austin, and that was a great game. That game came down to the wire. You guys were down, I think 3-0, right? 3-1.
It wasn't a semi; it was the last round robin.
Oh, last round robin
We
game.
had a win to get in.
Yes, I'm sorry. My apologies.
Yeah, 3-0. They were up on us.
Yeah, and they scored 2 shorthanded goals, and you guys came firing back. And Tim McManus did have a really nice goal, shorthanded goal at the end. So
Had a hat trick that game, GT. No biggie.
yeah, not a big deal.
Kind of like you in the pro final. We'll get to. That championship game though. We played Tor Assault. We came out kind of sluggish. They came out ready to play as you should in all games, and they went up I think 3-0 on us in that game. So we just don't have good starts. That's for sure. We need a 3-period tournament to maybe win one. But they pulled ahead on us. We came back. It was back and forth a little bit. They wound up defeating us 5-4. Vinny Comito, MVP, well deserved in that game. He really controlled the game there for them in that game as well. Their whole team, Granucci, Fabloro, Mike Taddeo's got more energy out there than anyone I know. His feet and his mouth don't stop running from the time the game starts till it ends. So I don't know how he does it. But great player there. Tim McManus, no biggie, high scorer, 8 points. Mike Guido, 7 points for the Rich Morato's
Richard
Austin team. And, those guys, they got a good team too. They're like a player or 2 away, Greg, I think. And even the Scorchers, we tied the Scorchers the first game, and that 45 and over division, boy, I think it's only going to get better and better. Us, get busy living or get busy dying, the old famous line, get busy playing or not. Like those guys, that Scorcher team is good. And I played against some of those guys 25 years ago when we were young, and some of those guys are still all together. It's pretty impressive. But come the fall invitational, that's going to be a tough division, I have a feeling. And the last division of the tournament, the pro, Roadrunners were 3-0, and they spanked Black Ice in the round robin. I remember seeing GT and Foxy coming up to the office after that game, heads down, just didn't know what hit them. And it looked like all Roadrunners there. They were 3-0 in the round robin. Rink Rat Liberty was 1-0-2, hadn't lost a game. And then the playoffs get going, and top 4 teams made the playoffs there. So Black Ice semifinal, they had a really good game against Rink Rat Liberty in their semifinal. And Rink Rat Liberty scored first, but then KJ Tiffenworth, as he does, scored a tie, and Matt O'Shaughnessy won the game there to make it a 2-1 win in that semifinal. And then over on the other side, it was the Roadrunners playing against Rink Rat. The boys from Cali came out to play. So big shout out to those guys for making the trip out. And Roadrunners won 4-1 in that semifinal. Good game there. Nick Martini with 2 goals for the Roadrunners. Bryson Johnson 2 assists, and it set up a rematch for the championship that I had left at that point. I went home for my daughter's soccer game, and I heard it was Roadrunners Black Ice in the final. I'll admit, GT, I had my money on the Roadrunners. They look so good in the tournament. You guys look kind of flat, and I was not shocked because I know Jay Muro gets the boys going all the time, but to hear it was a 7. When I heard it was a 7-1 to win, I would have guessed Roadrunners if I heard that score because of the first game. But to hear you guys won 7-1 was pretty impressive. And GT turned back the clock that game, hat trick, game winner, not the game winner, MVP of that game. So that had to feel pretty good, Greg, to show the old boys that the sheriff's still here. There's not a new sheriff in town yet. You still got it.
You know, it was a strong division, Tim. You know, the Liberty played an outstanding tournament. You know, they were undefeated going into the playoffs. And our semifinal was just tough as a round robin. But, you know, we did, you know, Black Ice just played a lot smarter defensively and whatnot in the playoffs. And, you know, it worked out to our benefit. And, you know, going to the final, I just felt like the Roadrunners they just seemed a little off, maybe a little tired because they were playing in juniors as well, a lot of them. So I felt like they were a little tired and maybe cocky because they beat us the first game pretty easily. So we kind of took it to them, and it was nice to pull that one out. That's for sure. It's nice to come out on top. It's been a little while.
Yeah, you know, the Black guys usually step it up in the big one when the championship's on the line, and they did it again there.
Yeah.
So was Billy Pascali there for the championship, Greg?
No, Billy didn't show up at all.
Okay, so I know he's going to come. So okay, because that would be a big difference.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, when you got Greg Thompson, you got Shane Fox, you got KJ Tiffenworth, you got PJ DiMartino, you got Matt Gerger, right? You know, you got the guys really there.
O'Shaughnessy, yeah. I mean,
Yeah, such a good team.
Romano stepped in, played very well. You know, it was a good mix of guys. And
Schultz there for you guys too.
You can't forget about Schultz. He played
he brings the heart and soul. I think he said he had the apple on your wraparound, so you can't forget that. So
yeah, he had one heck of a tournament. Just
plays a lot of heart, that kid.
Works his tail off.
Yeah, he does.
You know,
every guy can have his effort. You'd be happy with 10 Schultz's effort out there for sure.
Yeah, I agree there.
But that's a wrap on a great tournament there. I know we ran a little long today. Just want to mention, you know, our fall invitational is going to be taking place back out there. You know, we're going to have games. Probably going to have our youth division playing at Marple Sports Arena and Sports Arena, and the adult division for the most part playing at Sportsplex. I mean, that's the plan early on to make scheduling a little bit easier. We probably should have more teams at that one. But November 13th to 15th. Probably start again late Friday for some teams, and a lot of them starting early Saturday morning. But we expect a big divisions there in that tournament. I already got some out-of-state teams contacting us about potentially coming out November 13th, 15th to the fall invitational. So if it could be just nearly as good as that Winter Wars event we just had, I'd be very happy, Greg. And, you know, just excited to be able to get back at it again as things are starting to move along. We get into a little bit more normalcy, it seems like, a little bit in the sports world.
Yeah, we sent out some emails about the fall tournament, and we'll be posting on some social media some more information about the fall invitational as well. So if teams do want to register, you know, they can just click on the link. If you do have any questions for us about the tournament, just hit us up. You know, email is probably better right now. Greg at statewarshockey.com and Tim at statewarshockey.com. But yeah, looking forward to another good one as well. But I'm really looking forward to tonight's game, Tim.
Yeah, what's your prediction tonight? What do you got?
Well, like you said, I think if the Islanders pull this one out, I think they're going to win the series. But, you know, Tampa just has to come out and win this one. I do think Tampa's going to win, especially if Braden Point's in the lineup. But only time will tell.
Yeah, they're saying he's a game time call for tonight. And he's arguably, you know, top forward in the series in the playoffs, maybe.
He's been great, yeah.
You know, I'm a big Victor Hedman guy this playoffs, and he's been every game just
beast.
He's a beast out there, man. I love watching him play. You know, and I love watching some of the Islands as well. Matt Barzell is a lot of fun to watch, obviously. How
about Andy Green? Still
old man out there, gray beard. He's doing pretty well. You know, exciting series for sure. You know, I wouldn't mind seeing a game 7 just for excitement and whatnot. But yeah, I think it'll be a good game. My prediction is I'll say I'm going to go with a 3-2 Tampa win tonight.
Overtime or no?
What?
Overtime?
Regulation. I'm going to say regulation 3-2, maybe 4-2 Tampa. They get an empty netter. So that's my prediction. But, you know, some of my Islander buddies out there, I'll root for them a little bit, but not too much, because once I root for them, they get so cocky about their team, and then I'm mad that they won. So I can't fully root for them. So I'm just going to go with my boy Patty Maroon tonight. And maybe he could tip one in home in front of the net tonight for us.
Yeah, I have a feeling he's going to have a big game. You know, he always shows up in the big game. So,
yeah,
I wouldn't be surprised if he had part of a game winner tonight.
Right. Yeah. So, all right. Awesome. Well, that's a wrap today on SWH podcast number 23, Glass Half Full Productions. Thank you guys for tuning in. It's been fun. Let's go Lightning tonight, and we'll see you guys next week. Have a good rest of the day and a good weekend.
Take care.